Welcome to the regular meeting of the Guadalupe City Council, Tuesday, June 27th, 6 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Eugene Costa.
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Lizaldi.
Here.
Councilmember Robles.
Present.
Mayor Julian.
Here. Will you please stand with me for the pledge of allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is item 3 is a moment of thanks, appreciation, or condolences. And I think one of the Mr. Phil Perot, who was the son of Robert Perot, who was the interim city administrator, passed in June. He passed this month, so condolences to his family and to Bob. Any other recognitions or appreciations? I have one, another one. It's a good thing. Todd, do you have that paper?
Yes. Would you like me to pass it out? Or
You can just highlight it and you can pass it out later, but
okay,
read it. Yeah.
sure. This is for
No,
Councilmember.
here, not on here.
This is for Councilmember Hernandez. And it's an environmental award. Christina Hernandez is a Central Coast native and a Guadalupe City Council member who grew up in a small city of Guadalupe. She never thought she would work in a community outreach and environmental activism, but she found a niche in the nonprofit world. Working at a natural history museum, she has inspired others to participate in improving Guadalupe by putting her own boots on the ground. Since 2014, Christina has educated herself on the importance of environmental stewardship and has made it her goal to intertwine this mentality within her own community. After completing the California Naturalist and Climate Steward program, Christina saw new connections with governmental bodies to bring resources to Guadalupe. In Guadalupe, Christina is known to lead beach cleanups in partnerships with governmental agencies and other nonprofits. She knows that Guadalupe's significance and splendor lies in its unique dune ecosystem. Her goal is to bridge the gap between her community and the activism that will enhance the small coastal town's appreciation for its natural and historical integrities. She plans to continue the mission of educating the community and hopes to see her grassroots efforts spread beyond local levels. Congratulations.
We're gonna do that. She doesn't, although she said she doesn't like to speak, she spoke this past Sunday, and there's about another 6 or 7 individuals that received accolades, and she represented Guadalupe well. And during this meeting, and maybe later on, you'll find out that what connecting individuals to the city, how that enhances the city of Guadalupe. So without any other comments, we'll go to agenda review. Any council person wish to change the order of business?
No.
Okay, well, if not, we'll go to item 5. This is community participation. The first person is Mr. Pete Segovia.
Good evening, City Council and Mr. Mayor. I'm here today just to kind of let you know, and I brought some applications for the Veterans Memorial at the Veterans Memorial Plaza, where we have our memorial flagpole. We're going to be installing bricks around there that are going to have etchings on them, names or whatever people want. Due to a mathematical error and I'm just going to bring it up because these guys will talk about it later. Due to a mathematical error, we have more than enough for the city of Guadalupe, I think, to go in there. So anyway, yeah, it's going to be open to all. I'm going to leave these here with, I'll leave these here with Todd. And if anybody needs some more, you can make copies of these. I'm telling you, we have plenty of room for more bricks. And our plan right now, since we extended it a little bit, an internal deadline for us, not for these, but an internal what we want to do is at the end of July, whatever orders we have, we already have 49 bricks printed. But whatever orders we have at the end of July, we're gonna have printed, and then we're gonna complete the project with all the bricks. We're gonna put everything in blank and with, so we may be, these may be available for the next 10 years. I'm not sure, whatever it takes to fill it up. And so, anyway, that's, anybody have any questions? Oh,
Is it only for citizens in Guadalupe?
pardon me?
Is it only for the citizens?
No, it's for anyone who wants to, for anyone who wants,
You have to run
there's
it.
three, there's 3 lines on it per brick, 16 spaces per line. So, you know, whatever, we don't want anything obscene or anything like that, but, and up here it tells you, not restricted to military.
Oh,
So it's anybody who would like to have a name or a cause or whatever listed on that brick.
How much?
These are going for $50 a brick. Yeah. Was there, yeah.
Where else are applications available? So you're gonna leave some here at the city, but can they pick them up at the vet's hall or?
No, they can go through myself or Jerry Kaufman, anybody, you know, there's, or this,
Yeah,
Right.
if you wanna leave them
Oh,
in
okay.
That would be
the rec
yeah,
office
that would-
too.
pardon me?
You can leave them in the rec office too.
I will bring some more copies in and we'll just leave them around town and, yeah, and then just to say, you know, they have a similar deal in the Tascadero at the Faces of Freedom. But over there, they're charging, I think, $175 to $200 per brick. You know, and we wanted to make it affordable for people. So this is not like a fundraiser for us, but it just makes it more affordable, to get them printed and stuff. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Dee.
Thank you.
Jerry, you want to come up, please, Kaufman? Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 90.
Good evening, folks. Mr. Mayor, City Council. On November 11th, Veterans Day, our Vietnam Vets chapter will be hosting a program at the Veterans Memorial Building, starting from 12 to 3. And we're going to have a guest speaker. But our intention here is to invite the city council and Mr. Mayor to our celebration. We'd like to recognize you folks for being with us all these years, helping us and supporting us. We're gonna have a lunch and a bake sale, and it's sort of a fundraiser for our scholarship program where we take care of seniors in Santa Maria, Napomo, and Rio Grande. But most of all, we appreciate the city. Thank you very much. God bless.
And we appreciate you all too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George, you have an item, you said item 5. This is 5. Okay.
As you're all aware of, we had a shooting in the town Saturday. I'm here from, lived here all my life, and a lot of you too here. We very seldom get this type of activity. We could figure out the reasons why. I've been here pounding the fact we don't have enough police force in this town. The problem with the element you're dealing with is you're a gangbanger. If you have an outlet to go and you're not gonna get stopped, regardless, you'll come back. This is the beginning of turf wars between Santa Maria and Guadalupe. You have an opportunity to see the video. I did, it's online. Guys just drove up on a house, residential area, and opened up. I don't know the specifics. They're working on the police department as far as going on until the investigation for the DA. My concern, if we don't have enough police officers to respond or have a system that stops this population base for this town, we're gonna have more problems, and it's gonna escalate because the problems are within the kids, not the older folks. These are younger people who got involved. That's my concern. The other is basically, rumor has it that the city has an welcome wagon for bypassers on bikes, whatnot, that can stay here in this courtyard. We have a problem because here's the deal. I've been working hard as an individual to make sure that the homeless population is limited to here because I've opened up a shelter in Santa Maria, the first one with the armory. I'm familiar with the rules, I'm familiar with the population base. We can't vet this population to figure out who's in this town because it's against the law. Civil liberties protects those. It doesn't protect us. I'd like to know if the guy's been in Cascadero, whatever. But we don't have that system. Now, liability factor. If someone falls, gets hurt, gets violated here, the city's on the hook on this. That's the way it is, California. Bernie, you know that to be true. Okay, now, another thing, you can't discriminate.
36.
Okay, you can't discriminate for the homeless. They should have the right to come here and stay if you're gonna have access. And I'll be talking with homeless groups to find out, hey, come on down to Guadalupe, it's open. You want it? It's here. Have a good night.
Thank you. Ricardo, Mr. Leon? You don't have you have a request to speak, you.
Well, good evening, folks.
Good evening, come on up.
I got a little concern, sir.
Sure.
I have two trailers at home, a utility trailer and a 16-foot trailer. I've been getting tickets every 3 days for $25, $35 a ticket. I use those trailers to work. Unfortunately, I think it's on my benefit that I live behind the plaza on Alma here. So across the street, I have no neighbors. That's a good thing. But it's still, is there anything we can do? Because I don't use the trailers every day. I use one trailer or the other, but I don't use the two trailers on the same day. So is there anything we can do about that, or how can we work it out? I need those trailers to work. I can't find a place to park them on Santa Maria. I need to rent a parking space for one of them, and that'll be hard. That will be hard on me. What can we do?
Have you talked to the chief?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's where the answer is.
We're good. All right, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tiffany. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council. This is very brief. I just wanted to remind you that Los Amigos de Guadalupe is hosting a luau lunch fundraiser tomorrow to help raise funds for the senior meals program. From 11 to 2 o'clock at the senior center. Chef Marcus has a delicious Hawaiian style barbecue planned for the event. If you are 60 years old and a resident of Guadalupe, the meal is free. I will sign you up for my program. It is free. However, if you're not a resident or 59 and below, it is a kind $15 donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad I'm not over 60.
Don't look a day over 30.
All right, consent calendar, the following item 6. The consent items are presented to the city council approval without discussion as a single agenda item. Is there a council member that wishes to pull an item for discussion?
No.
Right, so I have 2 items I'd like to pull, and they're really brief. One is item D, and the other one is F. Is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
A motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All right. Item D is community development block grant over the counter. I just want to make sure that is this been submitted or will it be submitted once it's approved?
Mhm.
That's the wastewater master plan that we were late before. Don't want to be late again because they gave us a 30 calendar day deadline, and apparently we're right at that deadline.
Yeah, we'll make sure of it. I'm working with Dayanara on it and Hannah.
Okay,
So we'll make sure of it. Yeah.
All right, that's all I have with that one. And the other item. As soon as I find it, yeah. That, it actually calls for. Is it it? Yeah, one of the, on page 3 of 17 of the document. It calls for public involvement. I just want to make sure that if there's anybody in the public that has anything to say about this, to raise their hand and come and speak about it. And that's all I wanted to make sure that we have it in the minutes that we are required to have public involvement, and this is a time to speak their word. And that's all I had. So is there a motion to approve those two items?
My motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 7, city administrative report.
Other than the what's in there written, I don't have anything to add.
Any questions about that? No? Director of Public Safety, Mr. Cat, Chief Cat, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Everyone's seen online as far as the shooting. I'll kind of leave that off the table right now unless there's questions. So there's nothing pressing unless council or the community has specific questions of me.
I don't,
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. One of the items that came up about the incident that occurred on Saturday, this has nothing to do with the specific incident, but more process related. Did we send any sort of Everbridge or utilize any sort of communication just to alert the community?
No, and Everbridge is really not. We got warned already about some of our usage on Everbridge that came out of the flooding situation. So it's more of when you have an emergency situation that is continuing, that's when you use the Everbridge. That situation, we found that. Okay, well,
It's still picking you up, it just doesn't.
oh, okay. There was no longer a threat to the community. And I expressed that to the media, everything like that. But if there was a continuing aspect of a threat, either a shoot or something else that we thought was going to occur, then we would have sent something out for people to be able to wear, to be able to protect themselves. So.
And then one more question. And again, not necessarily specific to this situation, but in terms of processes, we know that we're short-staffed. It's been in our meetings, we're dealing with staffing. It's a challenge for the city, but when these types of situations are happening, are we reaching out to other agencies for backup? Being that, let's say we're down officers and they're tied up with that situation, is there any sort of backup system for the community while that's being dealt with?
We have what's called mutual aid, but then that's only triggered when the threat is ongoing and it's something that is not planned. But if it's like because of if it's because like our shortage, then no. Other agencies see that that's something that you could have taken care of ahead of time. Plus two, after a certain point, they will charge. And then after a certain point, if they're not showing that there's a expressed immediate danger, they have the option to go like, no, we're not coming. So we called back what we could. I got called. We only had 2 officers available and one had to stay with the victim. And so it was 1 officer that was left. The sergeant got a hold of me. He had gotten off at 7 p.m. that night, came back at 10. He had to be called back. And then I came in and kind of relieved, and then he later went home because he was tired out. So it just left me here for a while.
So Chief, I have a quick question. Is this something that's handled within our internal investigation when we have a situation like this? Or is there somebody else that helps us out with the actual?
It really is a case by case. Not getting to the specifics of this one, initially and right now, everything is handled by us, but there's other stuff that has, came up. And so we're working with the district attorney's office and also, two other allied agencies, to locate some of the people that we, through our investigations, found that could be somewhat involved in that. So each investigation, it depends on where it starts leading if we go out. The only thing that we have really that works, if it's a police officer shooting by state law, DOJ steps in and so the sheriff will come, because then we're freezing all our officers. So that's the only one that's pretty much mandated.
Very good, thank you.
One more question, sorry. I don't know. Moving past that, in terms of staffing, I know we have 2 vacancies right now. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And where are we at with recruiting? Or if there been outreach or any networking with other departments to see if we have any leads?
I had been instructed from Chief of Police Cash to start contacting candidates for interviewing.
Wonderful.
I had been successful in contacting one of the 5 that Chief has asked me to get in contact with, and that was Monday.
Okay, so some potential leads. It sounds like. Okay, thank you for that update.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the chief? You ready to push?
I guess this question is more for Bob. Would you be able to send me any protocols on communication council? Just to review, I guess, just to learn how everything moves forward.
There you go. Councilmember Hernandez. I'm not sure I understand your question. There are no written protocols in the city, that we have no policies that have been adopted.
And how does, so no process, okay.
Yeah, there's no policies I'm aware of. I don't think there's any city council policies, which is something we probably should attend to, in general, just there's a lot of things that there should be policies for, but with that, I'm not aware of any. In general, I can communicate with council in the confidential communication, anytime. We can't exchange as a group, obviously, for Brown Act reasons, which is why I always BCC everybody on that. As you know, it's probably annoying, but that's why I do that. And then there's also for communications, there's something that's called, we call it a 2-2-1 briefing, that you can get up to 2 council members can meet with city staff and get a briefing, ask questions, as long as there's not communication with among council after that. Is that the kind of communications you're talking about, or are you talking about?
I guess looking forward, if there's any issues, I just want to be able to work together, and if there's something come up, it would be nice to know how that protocols on communication to counselors. Yeah, if any, but no.
You mean communication
Like, for
between
this
council
incident,
members?
yeah.
Can I respond? When I heard that this thing was on Facebook, we heard the helicopters 10 o'clock Saturday night. I didn't hear any sirens. I said, what's going on? And then I was informed that there was the video of that on Facebook. And from my perspective, individually, to me, we should have been notified. We don't need to go into detail of what happened, that there was a shooting and we're investigating. And I don't know if that's what you're talking about, that we, as city council people, we need to, because they're gonna ask us. And if they ask us and we know, we can't basically say we don't, it's under investigation. Mood is the, mum is the word, whatever it is, we don't say anything. And that's my perspective, is that if someone I don't go and talk to anybody about that. Because first of all, I don't know anything about it, and I wouldn't want to know anything about it because it's in the hands of law enforcement.
I think I agree wholeheartedly in that we would never want to jeopardize an investigation. I think that's 100% accurate. I also would like to be prepared to answer those questions if someone were to confront me and say like, oh, there was an incident that occurred. It doesn't have to be a shooting, but it could be anything that's higher profile. And then we're prepared to answer like, oh, I'm aware of it. I have no details on it. I can't discuss it, but I am aware of it.
And
And
just
I think that's really helpful when you're navigating those really,
exactly, like
uncomfortable conversations. You're prepared for it instead of someone approaches you and you're going, well, what are you talking about? And then you're asking questions, which could then jeopardize our position on it. We don't want to dig into this conversation with anyone. I wouldn't personally. So I agree.
And like Phil mentioned, that if we wanted to, if two council people wanted to talk to the chief or to, to anyone on this, just to get an update. Go ahead, Chief.
I think, one, process is always an impact. But as Phil knows, to put this into a box saying you will call at this time on this thing, sometimes we like to say, call as soon as possible.
Within reason.
But the thing that I would look at that makes it easier for us, you have my number. Call and ask me, and that way I don't have to deal, because I will go through Phil, especially if it's sensitive. And for me, I like to get it correct. 99.9% of what we get out there is incorrect. I don't want to put you in a situation where you have some kind of information and it is wrong. And then two, I learned through Phil, and I learned this the hard way, not to put anything, I can't say anything via email because it's discoverable. So I really stay off of that, but feel free to give me a call. I heard this, what's going on? Because a lot of times I'm involved in the situation and I can easily, that helps me because I do have a checkoff list to make notifications. But I gotta be honest, I'm doing it like on my time schedule. And so if you have a question, call me. And that way too, then I can check you off on mine and get back to my structure of what I'm trying to do. So that would help me an awful lot because the officers, they have that directive. They automatically call their supervisor. They do not call me, and he evaluates it. And then he gives me a call and we talk, do I need to come or do I not need to come? And I look at the severity of the situation to see if I'm going to take it further. My aspect, I might not think it's severe, but your aspect, hey, it's right around my corner. I need to know something. So that helps both of us to understand. I got to look at what do you need? And the best way to do that is call me and let me know. That way I can help get that information to you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think we should go into any more discussion,
We're good.
but I think that there's, all right. I think that there's a,
Been out for 15 minutes. I know.
You're in trouble, Hannah.
there's a, I think that the council's wishes have been made clear, and I'm sure that we can improve the flow of information.
There you go.
Perfect.
I'm looking at the next item, public hearing, and I would like to, if it's okay with Tiffany, to pull you up, Tiffany, on the number item 10, Guadalupe Food Bank, COVID-19 Delivery Service Program. So is that report?
That's
Item 10.
Hello again, Mayor and staff. So I'm here to give a background of the agenda item. In August 2020, the city of Guadalupe applied for a grant from the state of California's Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Response Round 1, also known as CDBG CD1. In this application, the city applied for a total, and this is a correction to the public notice we made, of $84,676 to create a public service, which was the Coronavirus Community Service Coordinator. And this was to support those in the community that were at high risk of medical complications if infected by COVID-19. In February of 2021, the city was awarded the CDBG CD1 grant for the performance period of April 21st, 2021 through April 21st, 2022. At the time, the city was operating a weekly food bank on Thursdays in which all were welcome to pick up weekly food supplies. The food was delivered by the Santa Barbara County Food Bank to the city senior center, where volunteers divided the food pallets into boxes, bags for pickup by families in need. This, however, left vulnerable individuals or family members with vulnerable individuals in their households having to leave their homes and line up to receive their food. These vulnerable individuals would remain at risk, since the safest way to ensure that they remain infection-free was for them to stay at home. But the city was unable to commit to delivering that service to those vulnerable households due to limited resources. So with the help of Los Amigos de Guadalupe, formerly known as RCDCC at the time, LADG hired a coronavirus community service coordinator position to coordinate the city's weekly food distribution, create a list of households with individuals identified as high risk for medical complications if infected by COVID-19, and provide delivery service to those households. Our accomplishments. This was a community effort that required a working partnership with the City of Guadalupe, Santa Barbara County Food Bank, staff volunteers, and the families of the individuals served. LADG, together with the city, marketed the program through flyers in both English and Spanish to the community via Facebook posts, emails to Guadalupe nonprofits and other service organizations, the Guadalupe Union School District Parent app, and flyers were included in residents' utility bills. In addition, flyers were placed in multiple locations around the community and posted on the LADG website. Together, we served a total of 53 households with a total of 214 vulnerable individuals who were assisted weekly for the period of the grant, which was fiscal year 2021-2022. 43%, or 23 out of 53 of our households, were at extremely low income. 51% of households were at low income, with 6% at a moderate income level. 9% of those individuals were persons with disability, 16% were senior citizens. In addition to funding the service, the city was also able to purchase an electric vehicle, a 2021 Chevrolet Bolt, that was utilized to deliver the food bank bags to our individuals. LADG with the Santa Barbara County Food Bank continues to offer the service in two forms. One is through the Santa Barbara County Food Bank's older adult nutrition program, also known as the Owen bag or the brown bag. And then we continue to deliver that to those, and that's through the food bank every Wednesday since the start of 2022. And then the second form is LAGD also continues to deliver the monthly food bank distribution as part of the senior meals program for our home delivered clients. Of the $84,676 in funds received, 99.7% or $84,447 or 21 cents of the grant was expended, with $228.79 to be disencumbered. The majority of our costs went toward labor, about 55% of the grant. 31% went towards the vehicle. The rest of the cost was for equipment and startup of the program. Any public comments, questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna open up to the public at 11, it was at 6:33. Open the public hearing. 6:33 it's closed. Are you still doing the every other week, every other Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay, that's still going on.
That's still good for the food bank.
Okay,
So we send, we have an application from the food bank to let our seniors know, especially newly signed up. This is an additional service. It does require an additional application, but it's also free. Just fill it out. I send it over to the food bank, and every other Wednesday, the food bank volunteers will deliver that back.
they dropped the brown bags out and volunteers distributed to those on
Yep,
the
on their list.
And how many on that list, you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and Stephanie Kraus was the point person for, and that still happens with Marcus still.
Yeah.
Every Thursday, every first Thursday, there's about 26 bags that from food bank that Marcus still delivers, and that'll still continue.
Yep.
And that number is actually included in the numbers that we provide overall. So that's in fact, June 1, there was only, it's because people are working now, there are probably 158 total, as opposed to close to 200 when people aren't working. So any questions for council on the report?
No, that's really good to see that that's happening for people.
Yeah, but it's still going on for that other side for every couple weeks. That's good. So thank you and for moving on that. And thanks for the part.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll put Todd on the hot seat.
I know so much about this.
Okay, item agenda 9, Pasadena Lighting and Lighting District FYI 2023-24 public hearing.
So I will be recusing myself now. Mr. Cinco, do I need to leave the room or do I stay?
Yeah, unfortunately, you're required to leave the room or at least step down from the, yeah, you have to leave the room and step down
I'm taking
from the
my.
desk. It's weird.
Jacket.
I mean, I suppose you could sit in the very, very back and turn your back on everybody,
No,
but.
it's best.
Fine, I'll take my break.
Okay, Todd,
Go for it.
Okay, mayor and council, staff. I by far am probably not the most eloquent speaker when it pertains to this kind of stuff, but anyways, at the October 10th, 2017 council meeting before my time, the city council informed the Pasadena Landscaping and Lighting District pursuant to provisions in the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972, after conducting a protest ballot proceeding regarding the assessments of the district pursuant to the requirements of California Constitution 13D. This district was formed and established and dedicated revenue sources to fund the expenses related to the special benefit to properties in the district. And there's various zones for ongoing maintenance, operation, and servicing of the local parks, landscaping, and street lighting improvements. So attached here is a detailed report done by Wilden, who is an engineering firm that you're all familiar with. And you've seen it in different assessment districts. I think once a year, we do this for a number of different areas. And so tonight you have this in front of you. There was an intent meeting on June 13th, and this is a public hearing for June 27th. So tonight, staff recommends that the city council open the public hearing to accept public testimony and any written protests regarding the district, the engineers in this report, and the proposed annual assessments described herein for the 2023-24. And then number 2 on that recommendation is, upon conclusion of the public testimony, the mayor will close the public hearing and the city council may adopt the resolution, which approves this engineer's report that's enclosed here and orders the levy and the collection of assessments on the county tax rolls for fiscal year 23-24 as described in the engineer's report. The deadline for submission of this assessment, which staff will make sure that we meet that deadline if you approve this tonight, is August 10th, 2023 to meet the county tax rolls. And so that's ends my report.
at 6:37, it's open to public hearing. It should be noted that there is a written correspondence related to this, and that information is included in our minutes. And there's a copy. I think there's a copy in the back.
That's correct.
Okay, and council members have a copy of that. Anybody in the public wish to speak on this item? So at 7:38, the public hearing is closed. Comments from the council or discussion or questions? Roll about. Is there a motion to approve resolution?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
What is the current, so the current one is 221 and from last year,
You certainly-
and it's going up to 299, correct?
Yep. And that's based on their metric and their, analysis and understanding of how to put it together more than, it's not just conjecture, it's actually
Yeah, there's,
looking at the cost of services and all that, and it plays into what the increase would be.
does anybody have any questions? Gilbert? Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2023-54?
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-54.
I'll second that.
Is, we'll have roll call, please.
Council, Mayor Pro Tem Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Robles.
Aye.
Megan Lazardi recused herself. Mayor Julian.
Aye, resolution passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good report. God.
Very thorough.
Thank you. I was scared. I was nervous.
Ready?
Samuel, you want to say anything?
Regarding
Anything?
anything,
Yeah.
how you doing?
You're doing fine.
I think someone wants to say this for the, FSA, to
Yeah,
support
yeah, I'll talk about the fundraiser. So, this Thursday, we started a fundraiser, to support the Guadalupe community figures, which is community engagement we do. We have a booth, a firework booth that we'd like to, have at the plaza, starting Thursday all the way to July 4th. So we're hoping to have the city council.
That was a.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on the-
Okay.
Great, well, thank you all.
Okay.
I said the same.
Thank you so much.
I saw the fireworks booth, I'm like,
The whole time I was trying to get his attention to be like, oh, you good?
what are we doing?
We just did it.
Yeah.
today.
Oh, it was in the-
Yeah.
I should have pulled
You
it.
probably can't read.
Oh, why would you pull?
I wanted to get-
San Duarte?
Oh, that's it.
All right, we'll go to item 11. Fiscal year 2023-24 proposed budget for budget workshop.
Right.
Janice, you're on.
Thank you, council. So the fiscal year 2023-24 proposed budget workshop. It is recommended that the city council review and interactively discuss the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024, along with the capital improvement project budget, capital facilities program of projects, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, allocation of funds. And I meant to remove the GAN appropriation limits that I have listed here, until next council meeting. I didn't provide you guys with the new appropriations, so I will cancel that out. And that will be in the next, council meeting. The background on this is city council and city staff participated in a goal-setting session on May 31st, 2022. One of the goals of the city council is to have the balanced budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023, in which the priority is to build up reserves. In an effort to better match fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to the city's priorities, city staff is hosting a budget workshop. City staff has prepared a preliminary draft of the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. As part of the process, each department has had an opportunity to evaluate and determine appropriate proposals to continue maintaining current levels of services. City staff seeks for a recommendation from city council as to how to finalize the budget and prioritize the use of the funds. We will start with the general fund. The general fund summary, the preliminary draft of the budget includes revenues of $6,979,313. The expenditures of $7,022,485. The expenditures are broken down in the following draft by department. And that's for those who need visuals, hope that helps. At the top of page 3, it shows the current budget with the expenditures and the budget revenues and the deficit of 43,172. 2023-2024 budget reserves needed. According to our auditors, we should have at least 2 months of expenditures in our reserves. That would actually bring that reserve is the $1,170,414. We currently have in our fund balance
$759,324. So we would need the difference of $414,090 if we want to meet the reserve balance. City staff is seeking for city council's input as to what expenses should be prioritized and what expenses should be deferred to a subsequent fiscal year. Consistent with the city council's goals, expenditures for the preliminary draft will need to be reduced to the amount of revenue expected at a minimum to break even. Again, the difference between budgeted revenues and budgeted expenditures per the preliminary draft is 43,172, with expenditures exceeding the revenues. The budgeted expenditures per the preliminary draft will need to be further reduced if the council would like to build the additional reserves. So if you want to look at attachment A1 for the general fund revenue, that's what we will go over next. Expected revenue as it relates to taxes for the proposed budget are $4,221,841. City staff used a hold on. Okay. City staff used a projected performance by.
It's in the first sheet of the budget, the proposed budget. You're looking at A1, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was, this is fine.
Yeah, you gotta way down.
You have to go down.
It's actually a sheet like this.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Forgive me.
Okay.
It's within the actual
There you go.
document.
That one right
Yeah,
there.
that one.
I'm
It's a little
sorry.
hard to-
Yeah,
That's my bad.
it's a little hard.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can zoom in.
Thank you, Hannah.
Mhm.
So the expected revenue as it relates to taxes, as you see per the proposed budget are $4,221,841. City staff used a projection performed by HCL for sales tax and local sales tax revenue, which includes the new measure, and this projection is an exhibit A of attachment 5. The projection shows sales tax revenue of $565,099 and measure N sales tax revenue of $701,579. Property tax revenue was projected using current actuals and projected change. Please see exhibit B of attachment 5 for the projection. Remaining revenue items in the tax category were projected based on estimated revenues from the approved mid-year for fiscal year 2023 budget with data through May of 2023. Do you have any questions on the taxes? And expected revenues for building and planning, which is that next section. Per the proposed budget are $402,267, which is a decrease of 13% from the approved mid-year budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. This category of revenue includes the estimated expected inflow from the Escalante Meadows project. In addition, the city does not expect to receive remaining funds for the general plan update project from the LEAP and the REAP grant. Expected revenue as it relates to public safety, which is the next section, per the proposed budget are $596,000, which is an increase of, I guess I should ask you guys, did you have any questions on the building and planning before I moved on? No, okay. Public safety. Revenues of $596,000, which is an increase of 10% from the approved mid-year budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. The proposed budget includes adding back the revenues associated to the school resource officer that was removed in approved mid-year budget for 2022-2023. The remaining revenue items in the category were budgeted similar to the mid-year approved budget for 2023-2022 and current action. Expected revenue as it relates to parks and recreations is a category broken out from other revenues to highlight the impact of community and private services or private events since opening up city facilities. The proposed budget of $40,000 is based on current actuals and projected increases due to a possible change in fees.
Expected other revenues is budgeted at 608,405, which is a decrease of 28% from the approved budget for fiscal year 22-23, mainly due to the reduction in ARPA fund transfers. The proposed budget includes an estimated 70,000 from cannabis revenues that were removed in the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. This was calculated by the city administrator based on a conservative approach to the slow development from last year's projection based on HDL correspondence. The rental revenue is based on the rent from Clay Septic and AP Wireless. The city expects to continue to receive the Chevron grant, which is the 90,000 you see there. Do you have any questions thus far?
I do,
Okay.
and it's to Todd.
Mhm.
On 151. When have they projected when they're gonna,
They're projecting August, September open as it relates to the agricultural timing, so they are gonna be starting their operation.
that's not part of, it's not included.
It's not really part of it because it's not like the retail store where it brings in the revenue you might see, and because it's kind of. We approved it at I think it was the last meeting or the meeting before, at 2% on gross sales, so rather than guessing, I didn't want to
Okay.
over
that's
guess,
what-
yeah.
That's what I'm.
In the retail, element 7, I think is the one in the shoot, they, who knows, maybe open the door for January, and then you'd have half a fiscal year. And
Right,
I based it on what they presented as a 4%
right.
on gross sales, and then that half fiscal year, so I just was real conservative with it, just to be sure. Because you just never know, yeah.
Good. I just didn't want to put it in our pocket when it's.
Not there.
I'm hoping it's gonna be bigger, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expected transfers. This is attachment 1. The one into the general fund from other funds were estimated based on a draft calculation of the cost allocation study, which is exhibit G of attachment 5. These will be updated when the cost allocation study is approved by council after the budget is finalized. The transfer for the accessory agency fund to the general fund was updated to reflect the approved ROPS from the Department of Finance. The transfer from ARPA in attachment 4 in the amount of 314,605 to fund certain expenditures and governmental services will be explained in further detail below. The main change in the transfer fund is the lighting district, which brought in that 300,000 for the Central Park. The expenditure is listed under that special fund. Overall preliminary draft of the budget includes estimated revenues for the general fund in the amount of 6,979,313. This is an increase of 6% as compared to the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Any questions on the revenues?
One of the things, looking at some of the big ticket item, which is property tax, and if it wasn't for some of the delays that we're seeing at Pasadena,
That's right.
the railroad and all the things that are happening with that, we'd be in a far better condition than we are now. And hopefully, once that happens, we start building and start selling, then we'll see a brighter picture.
5-year build out.
Yeah.
So,
And hopefully the commercial side eventually get built out.
Yep.
I would like to see that sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
With
Well-
what the Caltrans is kind
Yeah,
of pushing
and-
forward and
just on a side note, which impacts this is Caltrans, and we're meeting tomorrow night
that's right.
with Caltrans. And I think we talked about this before. Caltrans is actually taking the lead on a $31 million project on Highway 166, including railroad signalization, Obispo Street signalization. I don't know what we're gonna do with Flower Street or not, but they're pushing. They have to spend, SPCAG County has to spend so much money. We're actually allocating some of the funds from our
Yeah.
pocket, which I think is on this agenda, or is it?
Yeah, we approved it
Yeah,
tonight.
approved it. Okay, that was approved, where
Yeah.
we're putting a couple $1 million of our money into this whole $31 million project. And part of that project includes what's required by Pasadena to put in, which is
Mhm.
about 12 million. So there's a ton of money that has to be spent on 166, which then will allow any talk about commercial build out.
And to keep in mind that the money the city's putting in is not general fund money, it's,
Yeah, it's, but yeah.
It's, yeah, Measure A.
General fund money. We don't have it anyway.
no, but it's consolidated and they're kind of leveraged upon, so it's funny because now you have Caltrans pushing it, whereas before we're like, what's going on, you know?
Right.
They're kind of pushing it.
So that's kind of light at the end of the tunnel. So.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Sergeant.
So general fund expenditures, this is attachment one. C1 is the complete summarized spreadsheet of all the departments. If you questioned that, but we'll start with council. This is actually the same as last year. The budget for the council department per the preliminary draft is 14,366. This represents a 2% decrease from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Personnel services were calculated assuming the stipend amount would stay the same for all council members at 150 per month. CAJ PIA approved an estimate for workers' comp insurance. That's attachment 5, exhibit C, which shows the workman's comp insurance is expected to be about 27,000 higher overall as compared to fiscal year 22. Other expenses are budgeted in to be similar as the prior year budget. Administration attachment 1C3. The budget for the administration department per the preliminary draft is 572,373, which represents a 13% increase from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Personnel for this department includes the following: city administrator, administrative assistant, HR, city clerk, and we added a newly added grant administrator, which is actually at no cost on the budget. I'll explain that in just a moment. Personnel services were calculated based on the assumptions. Please see exhibit D of attachment 5 for the payroll calculation. City administrator and administrative assistant have a percentage of time allocated to the Royal Theater that will be covered by the grant. City clerk stipend remains the same at 150 per month. SEIU COLA of 3%. The grant administrator salaries are expected to be paid for by grants that this position will administrate and no fiscal impact. HR includes the assumption of a potential 3% COLA for the unrepresented employees. Estimation of the unfunded liability cost was prepared using CalPERS rates, currently the same as previous year. That's attachment 5 exhibit E. Cal JPIA estimate for workers' compensation insurance, attachment 5 exhibit C is currently the same as the prior year. Medical insurance costs are assumed to be 10% higher. A lot of this language will be continued on through, so I might not repeat all of it. When it has to do with the unfunded or the unrepresented employees and the CalPERS and the COLAs. All of the line items are budgeted similar to prior year budget, except for the professional services. Which includes 66,000 annual costs for an outsourced grant writer. City staff believes that this will be a great benefit to the city to be able to apply for grants to help offset operating costs. Do you have any questions? No, okay. City attorney, the budget for the city attorney department per the preliminary draft is 100,000, which represents a 9% decrease from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23.
Based on trends, that is.
Yes.
No smile.
Finance attachment 1C5. The budget for finance department per the preliminary draft is 693,917, which represents a 17% increase from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Personnel department includes the following: finance director, business manager, and 3 account clerks. I think she's the community manager now. Sorry, you guys. Personnel services were calculated based on the following assumptions. Please See Exhibit D of Attachment 5 for the payroll calculations. And again, those are the same as the ones I just read previously, so. All other line items are budgeted similar to prior budget. Professional services expense includes new accounting software. One time with ARPA funds to cover the monthly cashiering and merchant fees, along with fees to HDL for the new services related to sales and property tax revenue projections. Any questions?
What's the big ticket item increase? Is that related to the temporary salaries?
No.
Where's the big
So,
bump?
well, part of it would be in salaries. There's about, 90,000, maybe 80,000 more in salaries. There's the 25,000 for the ARPA planning software. So this expenses here, but the revenue is coming in through the transfers. Well, not in the transfer, sorry, on the line for ARPA. On the revenue side. So even though it's an expense here, so we've increased probably about almost $1 million with the increase in salaries budgeted, and then the 25,000 for the planning software.
Okay.
Non-departmental attachment 1, C6. The budget for the non-departmental department per the preliminary draft is 400,514, which represents a 32% decrease from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23, mainly due to expenses in the prior year. Were funded using ARPA. The proposed budget in the this department includes the following assumptions. Operating supplies includes 17,648 for Surface Pro that are allocated and funded by ARPA. And annual fees paid for compliance with gas fee 68 and SSA 218. This is actually going to change to 96 gas fee. It's a new compliance that is going to be in effect in 2023. I just found out that yesterday, so it's not on here.
Will that be in addition to, or it's a replacement for?
It'll be a replacement for.
Just for interest, I wanted to flag as we go into the ARPA, the service pros. So we can go ahead and go on.
Okay.
Please.
Information technology services includes the monthly service amount paid to iTech Solutions along with the monthly service cost to maintain the city's website. This line item also includes 36,888 for website and chambers equipment that were allocated and funded by ARPA attachment 4. CAJPIA estimate for prime property and liability insurance, attachment 5, exhibit C, currently using the same as the previous year. Animal services contract increased 22,000 to 22,700. That's attachment 5, exhibit H. Annual payment for interfund loans and capital improvements, attachment 2. The transfer totals 82,000, which includes the following: maintenance of efforts for streets, which is 77,000, and transfer to help the library fund pay rent in the amount of 5,000. Building maintenance attachment 1, C7, if you're ready to move on. Or do you want to go to ARPA?
No, you can go on. Just
Okay.
I have a quick question really quick. I see that 5,000 library rent, and then you had a comment. Is it every year? What is the amount that we pay for that rent? Does it kind of?
Yes, so we actually paid 11,000.
yeah, in fact, that you highlight that there's a note regarding that item, so.
Yeah, so first of all, this is from Amelia. She just wanted to let us know that the contribution for the fiscal year 2023-24 is shown as 11,000 with a separate line item showing 4,000 from the Friends of Guadalupe. What I have, I don't think I have that in, but let me see if I have the note on here.
I have an email.
You have it in?
Yep.
For me to give it to you.
No, I think we have the 5,000 for the non-departmental and then it's in the library. Let me see that. What I responded back to her.
Oh, I know, that's. You were gonna say.
Let me just look it up on my phone. Okay, so, it is 11,000 that we have budgeted for, in the library fund, if I can find it. So what I told her was there was a note that 4,000 came from the Friends of Guadalupe, budgeted was 11,000, but the activity was 15,000. The 5,000 that is mentioned here is what was here from last year. So I just kept that amount there. There is 11,000 from, that's listed on the library fund.
FYI, the rent is 22,000 a year.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that went up, and this is coming from Shirley, just sent me an email today.
$22,000 for the year.
Mhm.
That's right.
So the library fund up to fund 28 must show, this is from Shirley, must show 15,000, which is what we have, plus the amount the county will add to make the 22 for yearly rent. So it's increasing to 22,000, so we'll need to increase the budget by 7,000.
increase it in addition to the 5 or?
Yeah, because we would be at, we'll actually be at 16 on the budget. Friends of Guadalupe will provide 4,000. So we're really sorry, we would only need, 2,000.
So,
So we're increasing 2,000 per year in terms of contributions for rent, is that that's what you're saying?
Yes.
And that'll be starting this fiscal year coming.
3/24, July 1.
Yeah, this came from, they had a meeting, county meeting, or Santa Maria meeting. Hold on.
that's, we may just wanna put placeholder.
Yeah, placeholder on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'll make a note that, we may need to increase this by 2,000.
we can discuss it.
I was saying, we need to talk about that a little bit more. Okay.
Okay. Moving on. Building maintenance, attachment 1, C7. The budget for the building maintenance department for the preliminary draft is 150,791. Is a 35% decrease from the approved mid-year budget for 2022-2023. Personnel for the department includes the following: 50% of maintenance worker. I don't think I need to say his name. All other personnel costs are covered by Parks and Recs, Measure A, water, wastewater, transit, Guadalupe Assessment District, and Pasadena Lighting and Landscaping District. So last year there was additional funds going here, and now it's only one person. Or other personnel was going to the building maintenance, only one person. Same COLA, estimation, JPIA, workers' comp insurance and medical, insurance cost, the same as the rest. The proposed budget for other supplies and services for this department includes the following assumptions. Utility is proposed at 50,000, which includes new costs for the Leroy Park. Communications expense includes fiber optic internet and phones. Membership dues is proposed at 7,000 to account for the stormwater permit and other health permits. Operating expense is based on recurring costs, whereas previous year budgeted for ARPA covering the cost. Professional services, but professional is based on recurring costs, whereas previous year budgeted for ARPA covering the cost as well. JPIA estimate for liability insurance, that's again exempt attachment 5 exhibit C is currently the same as the previous year, and all our line items are budgeted similar to the prior year budget. Any questions?
I do, on the supply side and services, you have the line item on utilities. You have City Hall, Betts Hall, Senior Center, Leroy Park. Now on the, say for instance, the Senior Center, CV 2 and 3 is covering those expenses.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct, but let me just make sure that I have it in CDBG as well.
Even on the vet side, and that goes in terms of looking at the charges that we're gonna make or we'll have once we start fully utilizing that as far as community use.
I do have 12,000 in the utilities for CDBG, CD2, CD3. So that grant will be covering that.
That'll cover that. Now, in terms of Leroy Park,
Yeah,
They're,
we didn't have that the previous budget, so I'm assuming there'd be an amount now.
well, they're picking up the utilities.
That's right.
mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
So we don't, other than the lighting
Not any of them? Should be.
for the park itself and the restrooms,
So is the Boys and Girls Club covering that?
they cover the
It's in the agreement, they're supposed to cover that, yeah.
If so, that has not yet been transferred over.
Who's been
It's-
improving those
It's
invoices?
still in our name?
It's still in our name.
Oh, that's not right.
So if you have an email or something that shows.
No, we haven't.
We haven't.
Okay.
So maybe we should get pedaled on it.
Of course, we have to, starting when we sign that contract.
Yeah.
They're paying,
Yeah.
all the utilities.
Yeah, in the meantime, like I wanted them to at least get a heads up before we did that. So if you want me to send an email, I can do that or just need
I know that,
contact information.
I know that they're aware already, because I believe they've already worked with, well, they've worked with Veronica already to get. I know at least
There's been
certain
communication,
things,
but I don't know if
because
it's,
who's been improving those invoices, because they haven't been coming to me.
So if it says, no, I've only been in the senior center, I haven't seen, like utilities are just automatically in our name on, as far as water, of course, right? It's through our system and it's under our name, and because it's under our name, it's just exempt.
Was the agreement though that they cut us the check or that the utility be transferred into their name? Because that's. a
They're
very
supposed to,
different-
it's supposed to be transferred all to them, and it's supposed to be in the game.
Yeah, so
And I
they
think
come in.
With the senior center that, I think, Tiffany, you folks submit those. Yeah, and then it's,
And we get reimbursed.
yeah,
well, maybe we dial that number in and then it'll reduce this expenditure, which will cut into that difference a little bit. So I don't know.
well,
how much
every
that'd
penny,
be.
every penny helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't just want to cut the water off on them. I wanted them to.
No,
aware.
Yeah.
Because if that's not happening, we want to make sure that's happening as soon as possible.
Yeah, that'll help.
It was there.
I didn't even know what their utilities were running at the Leroy Park. Should be considerable.
Do you have an estimate?
I think we'll get that, you know, maybe we'll get that and we'll email it.
Started, then yeah,
to the
I pull all
council.
the data from when it started and what we've been pretty much, you know, writing off.
We'll get that and Hannah
We had
can
a,
email it to you guys and then
we had
reflect it
Penny
here.
back in June of last year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's progress, something to fix. Iron out, right?
Right, a wrinkle.
That's, Denise's job.
Well, it's my job.
And Hannah.
And it's still, they're both welcome to.
I just told her to give them a heads up before I cut them off.
Oh, yeah, I
It's-
think it needs to be a reasonable transfer based on the contract.
It's actually a good thing because it's discovered and now it'll help us. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, any other questions about building maintenance?
Yeah, we need more of it. Let's get not confused.
So that's each of those numbers.
All right, so for police. Payroll. Okay. The budget for the police department for the preliminary draft is $3,046,414. This represents a 5% increase from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Personnel for the department includes the following: 75% of chief of public safety, 2 administrative staff, 1 temporary staff, 10 officers, 2 of which are unfulfilled, and 2 airport officers, sergeant, lieutenant, and code compliance. Personnel services were calculated based on the following assumption. You can see exhibit D of attachment 5 for the payroll calculation. 2 unfulfilled officer positions to be filled at a step A. 4% COLA to chief of public safety per contract. SEIU COLA 3%, potential POA COLA as union negotiations are underway. Overtime was estimated based on the current fiscal year trends through May 2023, which is about 40% of each officer's salary. Estimation of the unfunded liability cost was prepared using the same rates for CalPERS as the previous year. JPIA estimates for the workman's comp insurance. Exhibit attachment 5, exhibit C is currently the same as the previous year, and medical insurance as assumed to be 10% higher. I do want to make a note on that is that I had a finance call, and they're actually seeing medical insurance increasing to 20%. So I don't know if you guys want to put that in. If you want me to adjust the budget to include that.
It doesn't sound, it sounds like we're gonna have to.
Yeah, it's to be safe. Yeah,
And that's for everybody, not just police.
Not
just so you
just-
know.
yeah.
yeah, that's happening everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so I will do that. So that's.
I have a question in terms of salaries, and this is just reorienting myself to where all the numbers lie. Where we've had vacancies for a significant period of time. Salary, where do we factor in the salaries where we did not have staff in those positions? Where did they get reallocated? Or does
It just can't,
Yeah.
no, governmental budgeting just sort of zeroes out and it starts over.
We have no idea of what salary savings were or have been with those vacancies.
Oh,
Not
I'm
at
sure,
this
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I'll be able to give you that when I do the close of year.
Okay.
And I'll let you know what those savings would be. And what typically happens is it'll roll into the fund balance.
Right.
Reserves.
Yeah.
Right.
That's reserves. Do you guys have a question?
This clarification, if I'm not sure if council does. I just want to know for myself, what are you saying? You got 10 officers, 2 unfilled, two airport, and the 2 unfilled officer positions. I think we're talking about, not the 10, not starting at 10, but it's really starting at 8.
No, I actually gave you back on this.
We got more than,
Yeah. So.
we got more than 2 unfilled technically now.
Well, it says on here 10 officers, 2 unfilled and 2 airport officers, so.
Keep it unfilled, keep it all the way. Leave the airport and then the rest of it.
No, I don't know what you're looking at. Yeah, yeah. No, I can't. What am I supposed to?
Are you smiling?
I just want to know if we have clarity.
That's what I know.
Yeah, originally I was gonna X them out, so. that's
Oh.
okay. I. What do you want? You have.
Is that from the workshop again?
No, I changed it afterwards, because we had money in the budget.
Originally, we had a 300,000 gap, but we found, figured it out based on that lighting district. Money in and money out. At one point, we just counted that 300,000 as an expense. I said, well, where's the revenue?
They're not
coming in?
taking.
Oh, well, two of them are for officers of your 10, which is what I have. So yeah, you do have 8 officers, but 2 of them are,
Yeah. So when we're saying
10
10
officers
officers.
total, 2 of them are unfilled, 2 of them are airport, and 4 of them are your regular.
Active.
Yeah. Well, now these,
Yeah.
so the problem is we have a lot of.
So, yeah, so well, but that's our total officers
Mhm.
are 8, not 10 slots.
Yeah, that's what it
8
is.
slots.
2 of them are airport officers, so you're gonna subtract 2 from 10, which will give you 8.
Got it?
Yeah. No? You want me to reword it?
It's not
Okay,
part of
I'll word it differently.
Yeah, I mean. We move forward.
Okay,
That's part of, the cut budget.
okay, so other line items in the preliminary draft of the budget were estimated based on annualized data for the current fiscal year, which are similar to the prior year's budget, with the expectation or exception of facilities maintenance, where the cost to update the electric for the new generator will be covered by ARPA funds. And that's in the capital improvements attachment 2, 50, pay liability insurance, exhibit 5. I'm sorry, attachment 5, exhibit C
C8.
is currently the
Middle of this.
same as the previous year. Do you have any questions on police?
Like,
So Denise, alone for police. The workers' comp is going up 27,000. And health insurance, if we are budgeting for a 20% increase, is going up 50,000.
So I used exactly what we had last year because, no, what are you talking about?
well, originally at 10 in there, and so now it's 20.
That's
Oh, yeah,
correct.
that's medical insurance, yeah.
For medical insurance, only. So the total of just those 2 items, 77,000 increase.
I didn't calculate the 20%.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's something, just something that caught my eye, it was the electrical update, of course. We know that the building's on a 600 amp to cover the whole city. The part that's gonna happen over there is really a facility thing, but it's put in here for whatever reason as in the maintenance item. But that's gonna give us another 800 amps. So the city will be, once this gets updated, it's gonna give the city enough power, we won't have issues. But it's really gonna be on his end of the wing, but in a sense, it's for the facility.
So yes, but the reason why I left it there is
Yeah.
because that's where the generator was originally, and because
Oh,
we
I
got the
see.
grant for the
Okay.
generator, we're not
Makes sense
using.
together.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
use that 50,000 now to pay for, basically, be able to have the generator with the electrical upgrade.
And it makes sense that staff would be here after hours more often and on weekends, et cetera.
I was trying to.
I think, maybe a little umbrella
Yeah,
over this is this afternoon, and some of you may know it. I received a call from Greg Hart that the state passed 1.1 million for Guadalupe for public safety upgrade and building safety upgrade. So he mentioned that it's, the governor signed it today. So what will happen is it'll kind of impact what's going on with ARPA and everything else here. So you don't want to, until it comes down to specifics, what can we use it for? When can we use it? That's just something that we put on the sideline that is, especially public safety update and the building update. 1.1, I know that we have plans for, renovations here, but I think we know it needs to happen, so. But well, as soon as, Representative Hart gives you data, but he called and said it's approved. I mean, it's in the budget.
That's great.
That's exciting.
So that'll help us out
That's great.
on some of these other, ends, which then they impacts ARPA.
Mhm.
So
So the
that's
question is,
just exciting.
should we delay that, or, I mean, we have to spend the ARPA by July of 2024.
Well, no,
Yeah, we won't get it by then.
we'll get it before that, hopefully. But so that was in the detail, so as soon as we find out when that could be allocated.
And how we can use that. What the
Exactly.
rules are for
But he says that he mentioned that public safety and building renovation for City Hall. So
That's great.
That's exciting, that is exciting.
Could I add something? Another purpose for the idea of a grants manager, and maybe, to see these grants through, once you get them, it's fine and dandy, but to sort of manage them and whatnot. And there's so much admin money to cover that, that I was talking with Jeff Van Dyken.
Right.
I hope I got that right.
right. So
He's
that-
an engineer here, and he said that he had talked to lobbyists, and he's an engineering firm. And he said that with the Biden infrastructure, that there's gonna be boatloads of money coming. So, you see that report from Townsend every month and you think, oh, we should go for it. And we're like, oh, how are we gonna do it? We don't have the staff. I think this could
I don't
really,
know if your mic's working because
we don't wanna miss that opportunity
Yeah.
to I know Christine's like, hey, Todd, check this out, and I'm like, okay.
Okay. All right, let's go right on there. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Please, go ahead and,
I'm gonna stay. Yeah, it is, that's exciting.
Okay. So we're moving on to fire, attachment 1C9. The budget for the fire department for the preliminary draft is $1,329,123. This represents a 2% increase from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Personnel for this department includes the following: 25% of public safety, 3 fire captains, 1 is unfilled, 3 fire engineers, and PCFs, which are part-time
paid call fire.
or paid call fire. Okay,
How many for paid call fire? None of that.
It's,
How many?
does it have a number? It just says, yeah.
Okay, we don't have the, what's the number?
it's on the.
Yes, okay.
I left it at 25,000. It's in the.
Oh,
first
she has it
line.
under salaries part-time.
Yep.
The second line item, 0125 on the fire's budget.
Okay,
All right, personnel services were calculated based on the following assumptions. Complete exhibit D of attachment 5 for the payroll calculation. 4% COLA for chief of public safety per contract. Overtime was estimated based on the current fiscal year trends through May 2023, which is about 40% of each captain and fire engineer's salary. Reduced PCF from 35,000 to 25,000. Estimation of the unfunded liability costs was prepared using the same rates for CalPERS as the previous year. Same with JPI estimates for workers' comp insurance. It's currently the same as previous year, and the medical insurance to be assumed 20% higher. It's 10% now, but 20% will be in the next review. All other line items for the preliminary draft for the budget were estimated based on analyzed data for the current fiscal year, which are similar to the prior year's budget, with the exception of services by other agency cost increased by 20,000 due to new dispatch services contract. JPIA estimate for liability insurance is currently the same as previous year. I think I already said that. Any questions on fire?
I just want to note that we need to get salary increases for this department. When money starts rolling in, we need to look at, and I know that we negotiate with them on the contract basis, but it just seems that they're not being compensated. And the degree, I think, is reasonable.
I know that maybe this year we won't be able to do it, but I do see that there's only, for training, 2,500 for the year. When we're talking about fire and safety,
Yes.
some training, it would be nice for them to have more training available. Is that correct? Only 2,500? Which seems very low. I think others may have a little more.
I think I trended it based on what current estimate, it was like their budgeted last year was for 5,000, I think. For the increase in that, like. What do you think?
I think that's something we need to talk about when we do their contract negotiations.
Yeah.
Is that part of that discussion and that overall incentive in terms of what we're willing to allocate as part of that contract when that comes up. I think that's a really important point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Parks and Recreation, attachment 1 through 10. The budget for the Parks and Rec Department per the preliminary draft is 425,699, which is a 15% increase from the approved mid-year budget for 22-23. Personnel for this department includes the following: manager, maintenance lead, 50% of maintenance worker, facilities coordinator, and 3 building attendants. The facilities coordinator is part-time and the 3 building attendants are part-time as well. Personnel services were calculated based on the following assumptions, actually, the ones we've talked about. Well, actually, let's talk about this one because ARPA funds were used for the manager and lead positions, which now they, oh, no, I did put that back in. That is there, sorry. So we are using ARPA funds for the manager for 2022-23. After that, of course, it's not. So we need to make sure that going forward that we have some adequate funds available for that. Okay.
I would think too, if we have grant writers in place by next year, there are a significant amount of revenue opportunities for Parks and Recs in terms of grants.
I would,
You're right,
yeah.
Spanish.
Hope so, yeah.
That would be my, I know that South Santa Maria is getting a pretty significant amount of their revenues for that.
Sure.
Yes, it's good to know we have this year to think about that and get that going.
The proposed budget for other supplies and services for this department includes the following assumptions: utilities and communications were proposed at 70,000 and 4,000 respectively, which includes new costs for the Leroy Park.
Yeah, that's what we need to
Okay,
look
we need
at.
to revisit
We got
that.
power,
That agreement.
And all this will help, of course, bring that down, so that'd be great. Operating expense includes 23,000 for recreational programs, tables, storage, concessions, stand allocated and funded by ARPA attachment 4. Professional services include the following: 10,000 in Central Park booster pump replacement, 40,000.
It says, you said Central Park. Where are we going with Central Park Booster?
Actually, do we even need that?
It's O'Connell.
Yeah, maybe you're meaning O'Connell because Central,
Maybe there isn't.
because Central is gonna be totally yes, doesn't, yeah.
The booster pump is.
That'd be part of the project, so we might be able to maybe we'd be redundant to do that, is what I'm saying.
I don't even remember if it's either on, if it's really supposed to be.
You know, that probably, I'm wondering if this is a budget item that was talked about in a previous budget that the idea kept there. So
This booster pump upgrade has always been at a plan.
we shifted over there then. 'Cause-
Well, it depends. It depends on
Yeah.
now that, I don't know if it's included in the Central Park update when it comes to irrigation. Because you're gonna have more.
we should ask that question of them to see what the irrigation is and if this is something that's gonna get dug up anyway, we don't want it.
I don't see a booster pump needed over there.
I don't think it's there.
I don't
So what the booster pump does is puts more pressure on water.
Right.
Trying to budget this in, budget's gone. It's sad.
She went- it was- it
Yeah,
was-
let's just blame it on Shannon. She's done.
So I don't.
Yeah.
That's
Great now, Shannon, are you watching?
We can plan it. We'll talk to Daniera and.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, I would check. them.
Sitting there laughing.
I don't remember anything about that, unless Shannon was the one doing it.
I think it was before
So then that
that.
just sounds like we need to put a question mark there,
Yeah.
just for clarification.
Might be a savings.
Or let's look at the other.
Okay. And
Where's
did
that?
you have a question about the 40,500 for?
The recurring cost?
Write that down.
I
Sure.
just.
Oh, yeah, professional services. Yes, so what does that include?
Recurring maintenance services would be,
I couldn't answer that
Is that
question.
for all parks and facilities? Or
So that's anything that's outdoor. Basically, the way that it's been broken up is that anything that's outside that has nothing to do with the actual facility is falls under recreation, and then buildings is anything that's specifically facilities. So basically 4,300 is for Parks and Rec, like everything that's Parks and Rec. And then professional services, a lot of that is from the irrigation at O'Connell that has been messed up for so long that every time that something gets messed up, the pipes are so old there that it takes a lot of work for whatever contractor comes in to be able to fix those issues. And we've had multiple leaks, significant leaks in the last like year and a half that I've been here.
And we were saying, you said outdoor, so this is like out on the grass.
Mhm.
So,
Out in the field.
so my issue with this, and we can bookmark this for later, is we really need people not to drive on the fields. Because that's also part of that too. Like sprinkler heads, and do you know what I mean? Like, not something we can look at later on.
So we're already gonna be putting some signs at O'Connell Park for people not to be parking on the grass, cause that's a reoccurring issue that we have a really hard time
Where do they
getting.
park on the grass?
Up by the by the
Well, not only
trees and
that,
then by
out
the,
on the football field too.
yeah, on the football field, on the horseshoe pit,
Yeah,
and basically wherever.
Even the rubber pit.
yeah.
Yeah, all the way
In
up there.
fact, I don't know, this weekend, I mentioned to Todd, someone took right back of the backstop,
Mhm.
there's these poles,
Mhm.
and it
And
was,
they pulled the,
Saturday was, what was it, Saturday? It was laying out, somebody took, and normally has a lock on it, so if you don't drive, because what'll
Oh,
happen,
right. Did they cut the lock then,
well,
or?
the lock's not there, so, and the pole was out laying on the ground. And I see tracks, car tracks going toward the basketball court, and what happens, you'll get somebody wanna spin roadies like that one guy that was caught down at Leroy Park, spinning roadies.
right,
I think if it's gonna be, especially when we see it in black and white, that it's
I
not.
don't know how we're gonna get them.
Yeah.
You know, it's something we should need to communicate to everyone that there is.
Do we have signage there?
No,
No,
Oh.
and that's something we can bookmark, I don't wanna get on too much of a tangent, but if that is something that we're seeing significant
so we have.
cost for.
Might be running over.
Yeah,
roads,
Is that for release? We just
and that,
Is that American Gangster?
Please,
Is that what that's from?
Oh,
Is that-
but is that gonna be an additional cost?
Oh.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
Giant math.
All right.
He's like too old.
what
for
happens, you
that.
have to put a lot of money there, Chris, Todd and I were talking, you have heard about it, that all the sprinkler systems
yeah.
are not working, and the trees are
And
dying,
then messed with.
so, yeah. Okay,
I won't,
We don't have
into
to
that,
book
but,
it.
what Chief was talking to me about is that it's actually, I believe, already budgeted under police to have cameras out at O'Connell Park, so it's just a matter of, installing them.
Where have you bought it?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, so he already purchased them, so if we can install them, then that would help a lot with enforcing people not parking up there, and then we'll.
Wi-Fi.
oh, we actually have money in the, for a gate too, so. There is,
We'll revisit that, cause I have some thoughts about that, but.
well, that's why it's on the list to talk about, so.
sounds good.
Moving on. Okay. Building safety commitment plan, attachment 1, C11. The budget for the building improvements department for the preliminary draft is 289,289, which is a 14% increase when they approved mid-year budget, for 2020. Personnel for this department include the following: permit technician and associate planner. Personnel services are calculated on the following assumptions. Again, these are pretty much the same. The new associate planner is to be approved and filled at a step B. I left that in there from what was the comment that was there last year. The 3% COLA, like everybody else was, and everything else is the same. The budget for the professional services is proposed at 43,472, based on the assumption that the associate planner would absorb current consultant costs, and 10,000 annual fees for the new planning software. All other line items are budgeted similar to the prior year budget.
Keep in mind that a lot of this, there's revenue that comes in on these application fees to cover some of these positions and also the professional services in the application process. So it's not all, I mean, this is the expense, but there is an offsetting revenue cost that on the revenue side of the budget. So just to let you know.
Yeah, as you can see, the estimate for the current year has the services that we're paying for. So this year for the budget, I offset the salary costs with that professional service that we pay. All right, cannabis attachment 1C12, the only thing here is actually, it was at 0.
There will
I
be.
wasn't sure. Yeah,
There
there's no
will be.
additional fees to be paid to HDL at this time. So the general fund, conclusion, overall estimated expenditures for the general fund for the preliminary draft for the budget, of the budget total is 7,222,485, which are approximately 6% greater than the approved mid-year budget for 22-23, as revenues are expected to exceed expenditures by 985,184. The estimated fund balance for the general fund is expected to be in the red, approximately 43,172 for the fiscal year 2023-2024. I must be getting tired. One item that can be reduced to balance this budget is controlling the overtime for public safety workers. So that's police and fire. That was just a recommendation I put in here. Again, this is you guys' call on where you want to reduce that 43,000. And then we can go into special revenue funds. If you all are ready.
Just to summarize what we were talking about already, there's a few things that it sounds like we're gonna look into, which were Leeway Park and the agreements for who's covering that, and then that Central Park booster pump replacement, potentially looking at that, correct?
Correct.
Was there anything else that I missed? I feel like we went over a lot in that first part.
I think it's a library.
The
library.
That was it, yeah, on the rent, okay.
Just another, on a side note, and this month, so a minor note, we're paying all the utilities at Veterans Building. And I don't know if the Historical Society is paying $200 a month. I know that, and then so is the AA group.
I think that the historical side it's re-engaged, right? You're starting to see money from Historical Society, correct? I believe that
I don't know
Yeah.
specifically.
Well, what had happened is that.
$200 a month.
That AE group and Historical Society were paying $200 each a month to American Legion.
Yeah.
And I mentioned too, because it's the city, that money, don't pay it until we figure it out.
Right.
And I don't know, I think Historical Society
I think the Historical Society is doing it because Shirley really, I think, demanded that. In terms of the EA, I'm not really sure.
Well, that money should not be going to anybody but the city.
No, I don't think that the money's going to them, but I just don't think they're actually paying us the AA right at this point, but.
Okay, we need to work on, check on that. We need to work on that, because
Yeah.
there's utilities that we're picking up at 400, at least $300-400 a month. For utilities, and then we're not getting any.
Yeah, offset.
But the utilities are still under our name, right?
Yeah,
So okay, I need to see if we're getting revenue specifically from them. Okay.
so where are you now?
We're in special funds, I think.
So we'll start with the public safety special funds, attachment one. B1 through B5. Okay, so the proposed budget revenue for the fiscal year 22. I didn't change that, sorry. For the 2023-2024. Are similar to prior year revenue with an added 15,000 from the mental health and wellness grant, which is under Fund 39. No expenses are currently budgeted under these departments except for Fund 39, where the expenses would offset the grant revenue. Most of the funds are Proposition 172 funds related to the Local Public Safety Projection and Improvements Act of 1993 and must be expended only on public safety services as defined in Government Code 352. I copied some of these down, so I need to make them improve. Right. Okay. So it's all. Okay. I'll cut that first. Any questions on public safety? The next special fund, we have streets, which is Measure A attachment 1, E1 and E3. So E1 has the revenue for the Measure A, which is budgeted at 677,900, similar to prior year. The budget for Measure A per the preliminary draft. The expenditure budget for Measure A per the preliminary draft is 1,256,968, similar to prior year. Personnel for this department includes the following: 30% for public health, public works director, 33.33 for engineering technician, 60% of maintenance lead, and 60% of maintenance worker. Personnel services were calculated based on the following assumptions. These are also the same as what you've seen in the general fund, and I will make the note of the 20% higher. Transfers for capital improvements. Attachment 2 are estimated to be 780,000 to fund street rehabilitation, sidewalk repair, storm drain improvements, and electrical service trucks. Oh, yeah, electric service trucks.
What is that?
It's the EV vehicle, electrical vehicle. But a service.
Oh, utility set up.
That's what she has in the budget. That's Shannon.
Again, not general fund,
So it's on the CIP list.
Okay, all right.
going electric.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. Any questions? Okay. The gas tax, which is also attachment 1, E1 and E4. So you'll see the revenues on E1. And those are budgeted at 297,155 as estimated current year activity. The budget for gas tax per the preliminary draft is 150,000, which represents transfers for capital improvements, which is an attachment 2 for street rehabilitation. questions on that? No? Okay. LTF attachment 1E1, again for the revenues, and E5 for the expenditures. Budgeted revenues for the LTF fund per the proposed budget are 9,388. The budget for LTF per the preliminary draft is 9,388 for transfers for capital improvements, attachment 2 for sidewalk repairs. One, SB1 RMRA, attachment 1E1 for the revenues and E6 for the expenditures. Budgeted revenues for SB1 RMRA fund per the proposed budget are 211,460. The budget for SB1 RMRA per the preliminary draft for expenditures are 150,000 related to transfers for capital improvements, attachment 2 for street, also for street rehabilitation. Okay. Question? No,
Just a comment, I think we need a biological break.
okay.
Good,
Sounds
run,
good.
catch you.
Okay, the girls have further.
Yes.
Breath,
We're getting
Janice.
close.
Deep breath,
You
Janice.
got this, Janice.
All
You
right.
can do this.
Got 10 minutes.
5.
I know.
We're all getting delirious.
By the way, thank you for handling the meeting a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes, great job,
You
Gene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't look at me to run for mayor.
Yeah.
All right, everybody ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay, SB one, SRTF. The funds for safe routes to school are expected in the subsequent fiscal year for the construction phase, no budget for fiscal year 20. I should have put 2023, 2024, but that's 23.
Oh, I just look up there.
I'm not even sure what page.
Where are we at? Gene?
At the bottom of page 10.
Am I on page 10?
Oh,
Oh,
staff.
go higher.
The staff.
It's on the
I was looking
written
at the
side.
detail.
Oh, I haven't even been following that. I haven't
I was looking at the detail.
So you are,
That's good.
Attachment E1.
She's on.
yeah. we're gonna be
I've
on
just been
E1.
showing the, so that way they
Yeah,
can
the
see
numbers.
that, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
E1 and E8 is the next one, which is the ASHC pedestrian.
Last one of that page. Yeah.
Which one?
Right there, stop.
Okay.
All right. So revenues, for this fiscal year are 2,300,000 from ASHC grant to fund the 11th Street
Model.
Multimodal.
Oh, motor.
multimodal path design project. The budget is 179,530. 179,537 related to transfers from capital improvement to attachment to for street rehabilitation. Includes the special funds. We can go into the enterprise. Unless you guys have any other questions? No, okay. The enterprise funds, water operating attachment 1, F1 and F3.
Revenues.
So F1 will have the revenues. And F3 will be your expenditures. Budgeted revenues as it relates to the water operating fund per the proposed budget are 2,626,000 and 2,626,014, similar to prior year. The budget for water operating fund per the preliminary draft is forgetting to put expenditures in here, what are your expenditures? 3,100,815, which represents a 7% increase from the approved budget for fiscal year 2022-23. Personnel for this department include the following: 30% public works director, 33.33% engineering technician, a water supervisor, and 2 water maintenance operators. Personnel services were calculated based on following assumptions, the same as what you've seen in the general fund, and we will change the 10% to 20% for the next review. The proposed budget includes the following: equipment maintenance increased by 19,000, an increase for utility and fuel costs. State water purchase increased by 398,000, and professional services reduced by 200,000. All other line items in the preliminary draft were estimated based on the prior year's budget.
I had a question on state water purchase. Where did you get that figure?
Shannon.
Oh, well, with all the water that we got, that we received, it would seem that
That might go
water-
down.
Yeah, it should, well, that might, we'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think Shannon went over this 2 meetings ago, and how she was allocating the water and blending.
She did, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you go back to the, I think it was 2 meetings ago, she broke down how she was doing the calculations and why.
Right.
So
And she
I
was,
don't
she was the one,
remember the details offhand, but
yeah,
I-
she's the one who plugged this number. in.
Well, it's for flushing and blending, okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying the records are something.
Catch some of that that's going into the oceans.
Tell me about it. Very agree.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so from water capital, which is attachment one for the revenues and attachment one, F7 for the revenues and F4 for the expenditures. Budget revenue was estimated to reflect expected impact fees from the Pasadena development and standby charges. Transfer for capital improvements, attachment 2 are budgeted to be $785,000 for the following project. 2 electronic service vehicles, elevated tank painting, advanced metering infrastructure, SEADA improvements, and Bonita tank demolition. Question?
You need to do it later, or thank you, break.
No, it's okay. It is a lot. There's only 15 pages, so, or 14 pages.
Oh,
We're on 12, we're on 12 and 14.
you're doing great.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Water operating, this is attachment 1, F1 for revenues and F5 for the expenditures. Budgeted revenues per the proposed budget are $5,065,100, represents an increase of 123% from the original approved budget for fiscal year 22-23. The budget for the water waste operating fund for the preliminary draft is $2,719,317, which represents a 5% increase from the approved budget for fiscal year 22-23. Personnel for this department includes the following: 30% public works director, 33.33% for engineering technician, wastewater supervisor, and 3 wastewater maintenance operators. Is this the one where we said that she only wanted 2? Okay,
Correct.
so
Two.
this one will actually reduce by 1 personnel for wastewater. I thought she wanted an additional person, but she was just wanting to
Backfill the operator and training with a wastewater too.
what? I thought it was like a promotion, but it's the backfill, right?
Correct.
Okay, to backfill a position. Okay, so it's only gonna be 2. Personnel services, the same as seen in the general fund, with a 20% increase. All other line items in the preliminary draft of the budget were estimated based on analyzed data for the current fiscal year, which are similar to the prior year budget. Wastewater capital, attachment 1, F1 for the revenues and F6 for the expenditures. And I have an extra U for budget, and we don't do that. Budget revenue was estimated to reflect expected impact fees from the Pasadena development and grant from IRWM for the effluent pump station rehabilitation. Transfer for capital improvements, attachment 2 were budgeted to be $2,650,000 for the following projects: Pioneer Lift Station, grid system parts replacement, Highway 1 lift station. I believe this is wastewater treatment plant equipment. And then it lists a couple of them. Any questions? Nope. For the solid waste attachment 1, F1 and F7, the budget includes costs related to the Calvert cycle plant.
Denise, I have a quick question. For the Pioneer lift station, is that on the new Pioneer?
And I honestly.
That's the one down.
The lower
below.
Pioneer.
Yeah.
Lower Pioneer.
This is all Shannon's minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have the details. Any other questions? All right, solid waste, I'm gonna some stuff that I already went through. Transit, attachment 1, F1 and F8. The transit fund is budgeted to receive revenues in the amount of $4,260,834. The budget for the transit fund for the preliminary draft is $3,149,144, which is similar to the approved budget for fiscal year 22-23. Personnel for this department include the following. Allocation for 10% of the public works director, maintenance worker lead, and maintenance workers personnel costs. Transfer for capital improvements, attachment 2, are budgeted to be $440,118 for the following projects: 2 electric buses, 2 bus shelters, an electric van, and 308 of this street site improvements. All other line items in the preliminary draft for the budget were estimated based on the annual price data for the current fiscal year with respect to the prior year's budget, except for vehicle maintenance, which increased by 30,000. The questions on the price fund?
So that was 20%, it's also on the medical?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so the miscellaneous special fund, this is attachment 1, G1 through G15. In 2023-2024, the city suffered an emergency causing flooding. It was recommended in the mid-year budget that 150,000 be moved from Fund 4 in fiscal year 20. To Fund 4. In fiscal year 23-24, there is no budget allocated to this fund. Budgeted revenues for the library fund have been estimated to reflect expected impact fees from Pasadena and a 5,000 transfer from the general fund. So there's the transfer of the general fund. The budget for the library fund rent costs of 15,000.
And that's with the increase
No,
or no, because it's gonna go up
No.
to, is it 22?
22.
yeah. I just had it as a note because when I spoke to Amelia, they hadn't had the meeting yet, so I made it a note there. That was gonna increase to 2150, but we're saying it's 22,000. I'm sorry, 21,500. All right, so any questions on the library? Miscellaneous special, I'm sorry. The public facilities fund is budgeted to receive funds from the Escalante Meadows development. This fund is currently allocating funds with no expenditures budgeted. The Park Development Fund is budgeted to receive funds from the Escalante Meadows Development. The CDBG Fund and the Park Development Fund currently have an interfund loan for Leroy Park, and it's expected to be partly repaid when the project is complete. So this is a note from last year, so I hope that that's still valid.
Do we know what, on our money that we use to supplement or to pay for the bills of Leroy? Do we know how much is outstanding, if there is anything
No,
else?
but I'll pull that for you guys,
Okay,
and we'll have it in the next.
so there's 750,000 that we sold the property of Pasadena for parks. And then we funded that money because we had to pay the bill, we had to pay the state, we had to pay the bills for Leroy, and then that was reimbursed. So I just wanted to know what our balance is.
Yeah, we were feeding off that to start off with.
Yeah, so it's still out there that for park development and
Okay.
So it sounds like we need an update on the actual numbers.
see if we got that money back.
Transactions, That makes sense. So an update.
Okay.
Park dedication.
Capital Facilities Fund houses monies from people self-help housing and Pasadena development impact fees. Staff prepared a program for projects for council's approval as to the use of the funds, attachment 3, which includes 70,000 for public safety equipment and 459,537. Capital improvements, attachment 2, the public safety equipment includes fire hoses and crime prevention cameras.
Some of that's.
Sounds like they were already purchased. Some of them.
Yeah, they were, I just didn't get that update, before I made this. Okay. Budgeted revenues for the city hall equipment fund and traffic fees fund have been updated to reflect expected impact fees from Pasadena and preliminary draft fiscal year 2023-24. There is no budget allocated to this fund. Budget revenue for traffic mitigation are 2,804 as estimated current year activity. The budget for the preliminary draft is 50,000, which represents transfers for capital improvement and attachment 2, the street rehabilitation. All right, last page. Budgeted revenues for expenses. For the CDBG fund have been updated to reflect expected grant funding for the following projects. Micro enterprises total grant of 239,888. CB2, CB3 total grant of 292,377. Central Park total grant of 4,400,000. Leroy Park Phase 2 total grant of 1,700,000. And Urban Forest total grant of 170,734.
Do we have the balances for all of these? The balance,
Like in terms of where the grants are and.
yeah, where they are,
and what
in
we
terms of the,
actually-
like,
Where are these things to come?
These are,
this is the total, these are the totals,
yes,
so there's a balance, so. Eventually we need to see, I'd like to see what the balance
so I
is,
think these are the,
that's the grant amounts, awards, yeah.
right. It's my understanding, because like, again, this is, coming from, Shannon at the Central Park, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the amount of the grants we received,
Right.
so we've been paying out on it already, so,
On CVs, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
2 and 3 we have, Central Park, we have a little bit. With the, the
Admin.
designers,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the micro enterprise, there's been many,
We've been paying out, but did we receive?
yeah, I just need, I'd like to see the balance.
Yeah,
So it sounds like an update on our grant. Like where
Exactly,
they're at, what's
right.
actually been paid out and then
Right.
what we have balance on those accounts. Would be nice.
right, so some of these we haven't received the funding yet, so like, Central Park, the Central Park grant, we haven't received.
No, we haven't, but,
Right.
Okay, but you want to see what the expenditures are.
the micro enterprise, we have spent money on that as you have in CV 2 and 3.
So, yeah, when I'll have updated numbers for current.
Okay.
Okay, so next is the lighting and landscaping district funds. This is attachment 1, H1 through H5. The budgeted revenues for these district funds reflect estimates based on prior year information. The budgeted expenditures for these funds are similar to the prior budget, with the exception of additional Pasadena lot 5 electrical and landscaping. Do you guys have any questions? Do you want me to just run through the revenues real quick? The budgeted revenues for, Fund 60 lighting and landscaping is budgeted for 24,000. Pasadena Lighting and Landscaping District 63 is budgeted at 120,900. And, Lighting District Fund 65 is 152,200. Any questions? The accessory agency funds, attachment 1, I1 through I5. The budgeted revenues are 825,500. These funds reflect estimates based on prior year information, with 100,000 coming from Fund 91, as 50% of costs are refunded. The budgeted expenditures for these funds are 684,074, similar to the prior year budgets, with the exception of the Royal Theater capital project. Whereas a percentage of the office administrator, administrative assistant, and finance director personnel costs are funded. Questions on that? Capital improvement project. Attachment 2. The CIP identifies all of the capital projects to be undertaken during the budget cycle. The proposed CIP will provide the city of Guadalupe a solid base for which to develop a long-range plan. With council approval, the city plans on completing 32,192,413 in fiscal year 23-24 for public improvements, which are detailed out in attachment 2. I did want to make a note on this because I did reach out to streets like Rudy and Daenerys to make sure that street rehabilitation for fiscal year 22-23 was finished, and they told me that it wasn't. So I left that line item in there, but I didn't put that impact into the budget. And I just want to know if you want me to add that in. It is covered by these other funds except for 40,000, which is in the general fund.
So your question is, you want to put it in?
Yeah, I just want to know if you want me to add that in there. I think maybe I did. Maybe I was smart enough to add it. Hold on. Let me think. 40,000 in there.
Yeah, I see street rehab 40,000. Is that what we're?
Mhm. Yeah, so I did leave these in here. That's good. That's enough, never mind.
We know how much longer those projects are, or where they were at when you asked.
I don't know where they were at now.
I just wondering if it's close to done.
I can ask.
Point of reference.
Going back to Royal Theater,
Yes.
that's 3 million of that. We received 8 million from the state.
Yep.
Right.
And then 3 million.
Goes to the
So that's.
housing
We
authority.
didn't put that anywhere in our revenue, so
No.
it's gonna be, yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of a pass through.
yeah. Maybe they'll forget that we own.
Yeah. Well, we're drawing interest on
Okay, good.
I don't want to forget that we want
it. Got it in a late program.
it. When they find out, they're gonna want it. I don't think that's it. But I didn't put all of them.
On, since you're right there.
Yeah, because, honestly, I put, just the amount that we think that we would spend in expenditures, and with the 50% we would get back. For those funds, because we did receive those funds in this year.
On Central Park renovations, I had wanted to blow this up because I couldn't see it,
Mhm.
and I still can't see it. when it's blown up. But, there's it says 4,120,000. There was. We put in the lighting district, 300,000. We talked about that before.
Mhm.
And I wanna make sure that we know that when we're moving money over, because that's how we got burned before, that we move money over from.
The assessment district to the, or the, yeah,
Yes, to the general fund.
Yeah.
And this isn't going to the general fund, it's going to
this
something,
project.
to the project that is legit. Don't wanna.
So I do have it in the general fund.
Hmm.
That's where I did question that one too.
Well, maybe that,
So just something to look at.
Well,
Yeah.
if that's the case, then, well, the expenditures are here, but the revenues is in the general fund. If it needs, the revenues need to be in the lighting district, or where do they need to be?
the revenues would go to this project,
The actual.
and it's kind of offsetting.
Well, my concern, again, is that portion, we're transferring it over to the park, which is it's lighting. It's not to the general fund, so just,
It's earmarked.
yeah. And so there's a,
Sound like it's restricted.
is that up there?
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
Right here, where this line right here.
Central.
Yeah, so it's right here. It's the lighting
So-
district.
What's that number, just to the left, right?
This one?
Up.
This one. 30,000
Six
or 33,800,200. Oh, I can't talk. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here too long.
So that
I didn't go to
amount,
school.
our total for that allocation is 4.5.
Oh,
4.1,
yeah,
4.12.
That was our, but that was,
Yeah.
the
the total.
total. So what do we have there? What's that number?
So that's the 3,820,000.
So why is the difference there? Is there money already?
it's a state park.
Yeah, that's the state park.
And then community
Added up
facilities
to one
grant.
four.
So so something's paid out already.
Obviously.
300,000 for lighting district.
Was that to the,
To
designer?
the designers.
Designer? Was that already paid to the designer? Architect?
Have to check on that.
I will have to pull the details on that. This was updated by Shannon, so I don't have the details
I think we had previously approved that.
what is
Yeah,
already
But it
spent.
just.
But if it's already spent in this year, then it wouldn't be included in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Right,
but this is
right,
pretty-
that's what it looks like it is, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's remaining in that
No, these are
balance.
projected budget.
for
That we
next
expect,
20
right,
July 1.
right,
yeah.
exactly.
So all these costs are already in.
Right.
So
But
it's like
I know.
broken out by state parks and then.
I would
like
say
the district.
Don't correct me. We need the money.
Yeah, it's coming from the lighting district and it's allocated,
The 300,000 from that,
and that's legit.
yeah. Okay.
And it's a legitimate expense, you can take from that lighting district,
For that,
because it's 4 lights.
it's for lighting, yeah,
So we don't get pinged.
yeah.
So, so if I move the revenue, because I have that revenue in the general fund, I need to move it out, that will reduce our expenditures. I mean, we will increase our expenditure, our deficit.
Right.
What I think we're saying to move, we're saying just to make sure it's accurate, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
that's the question, is
But then
making sure
if
that
she's
that's
got it
accurate.
in the general fund, as opposed to here,
Right.
well, you figure it out.
To be
Okay,
continued.
to be continued, I will,
Yeah.
dissect that number. To give you all an update. Okay, you want to go over, ARPA,
Yep. I did. Sure we do.
attachment 4.
Oh, my goodness, this is so small.
Now, this one's really big.
I know, I did.
It was a really big spreadsheet, I tried. I've even taken
All
out.
right, that's it. Next meeting, we'll be magnifying glass.
Yeah, really.
Not as fast.
I just see.
No.
No, that's worse. That's as big as we can go. Let me see if I go
It's just a lot of
over a
data.
little bit,
get
I can zoom in.
Oh, there-
Those are hard to squeeze onto one sheet.
Yeah,
I saw the notes on the mayor's spreadsheet on that one.
You saw my notes, huh?
Yeah, from a distance I saw.
All right,
it's the closest I can get.
I'm ready.
If I may, I'll just start off some conversation. You know, there was, and I know that there was some money moved, there's quite a bit of money that was moved from certain items that were indicated to the painting. One of my concerns, and I'll go down to number 21, if you can see that.
Yep.
That was Spanish Mixteco interpreting services, that was 7,500. And it was moved to the painting.
Do you want that back?
What's that?
Do you want that
I
back?
do, because we made it, I think we made a commitment to the Spanish speaking to have some translation services and, you know, a couple Saturdays ago, we met at the Riverview where they had Spanish translators. And you had a lot of people there, Mixteco and Spanish speaking that were present because there was, you know, that interpretation. Oh, that's not interpretation, it's
Translation.
translation.
Yeah.
But we need to keep that there.
Okay,
That's my opinion. You know, we got four other people that,
Is this Spanish Mixteco interpreting services for the meeting?
from here, for our
From here,
meetings,
correct?
for our meetings,
Okay,
yes.
so I understand that, sir.
No, I think it needs to say that to go back. Because how we can get our community
Exactly.
involved more, and I
Yeah.
think it's hard when we don't have those services. They
Right.
tend to not want to come because they don't feel they.
So is that the
understand.
guesstimate for the year?
That's what I'm wondering where that number
Yeah,
comes
that
from,
was
is that the estimated cost, right?
That was,
Yeah.
period, yeah. Part of the, you know, part of the ARPA loan.
And especially if we have any workshops planned, for the next year, it would be nice to have some services. I know last time we had a housing element or maybe, and we didn't. I think we had to use a fire team.
Yes. we have-
Yeah, we used Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it a
Sorry.
recurring charge, do you know, if this is a ongoing recurring charge?
He was here anyway.
It'll probably will be, but the minimum is to get something in there
Mhm.
now, so. And I think there's ample places where you can pull that, you know, that, just like the roof repair. That's a sizable amount, I can't remember the number of it, let's see, roof repair. Oh, somewhere there.
Oh, sorry, what was the number?
40,000.
Repairs, right, what, number 29?
Number 20, right here.
That's a
Oh,
month.
wait, no.
28.
28, yeah, I was like, that's the wrong one.
28.
So 266.
That's a definite must.
For the roof repair, right?
Is what was estimated in mid-year, and it looks like we're planning to have spent 238,000 in this year, but no. There must have been a little bit spent on this or removed because it's only showing the remaining as 238,675 to carry on to 2023-24. Todd, do you have the estimate for the roof or?
No, because it's actually just an estimate. It's not, the bids haven't, Shannon was working on the bids. One of the concerns she had at the time was, knowing if you uncover, something, there'd be issues. And talking with Rudy, he thought it hit it on sections, the real bad parts and,
Well, yeah.
and do it that way. One other thing is I don't know what we really have budgeted for. I know the city council pulled the public facilities master plan. And that's for sort of planning, all the facilities. And I think I felt like the council might want to use the money for an actual,
Yeah,
some product versus the document itself at this point. So you guys pulled it. And so I think we could divert funds from that to, maybe an actual project.
Right, so, actually.
But I don't remember what we had in
that
there.
comment, what we have in there as far as estimated, I just didn't move anything around. I left it where we originally had it. And then, so you can decide if you still want to keep these in the same place or not.
Looking at, just like I mentioned, the translation, we need to put that back in there. And the other thing that I was looking at is the Surface Pros.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with that? Those are.
Yeah, it's a matter of at one point, I know that some wanted it and some didn't, so. Honestly, if you guys want to have the Surface Pros versus the sort of hard copies. Let us know and then we'll just order them out and it's ARPA will pay for them, in terms of getting, your individual. I don't know if you don't want to call it Surface Pros, I don't know if you need to go that type, but. And have an electronic device
Wanted both,
versus.
you could have both, because, like
Or
hard.
you
copies,
could
I
have,
like hard
you
copies.
could have both, you could have both, I mean.
Well, I don't.
For nights like this, it would have been nice to have a Surface Pro.
The idea,
yeah.
one thing I know, for example, Juana, it's nice for her if you had that because. It would reduce her time, there's actually be a cost savings if you
I
had
was just
it.
gonna say, is there a cost saving?
There would,
Cause
there would, yes, there would be huge cost savings, so, I mean, you'd be saving money.
But I think with the Surface Pros, you would have the ability to write notes
Okay.
on there, so you
Yeah.
can have your
And then
questions.
look at,
and-
yeah,
Yeah,
So
I can still talk.
we could certainly, look into, ordering out for all of you. And then if you still want a hard copy, that's fine.
it depends, and then
It
that
depends.
transition, so if there's,
Yeah.
having that, what if it goes down where we can't. Access it on the
First 3 months.
Yeah.
So give me the nod and we'll go at it.
what's your feelings, what are we? I didn't know what number we're talking about.
I really like the idea of not having as much wasted paper.
Yeah.
Because granted, there are things that I would probably request for in hard copy, but I would probably just email
Right.
Juan and say, Juan, if you
Yeah.
mind if I get a copy of this, just because it's something that we need, I really want to look at and dive into. But on a regular basis, if it's gonna be a cost saver and we have it, then I'm probably pushing more that direction.
Well, one of the policies, then if we get that, is policy in terms of taking it home. Or leaving it here,
Okay,
I think we need to take it home,
Oh.
so, but I don't know,
We'd have to review
the
Yeah.
agendas.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure we have a
Yeah.
technology policy we'll sign when we onboard to it, that we're not gonna misuse.
So what do you need hands here in terms of the number?
yeah, I'm just getting a consensus if you guys wanted to order them up. For all of you,
Right,
and I guess consensus, yeah.
Gilbert?
I'm plotting something.
Is it kind of similar to just like the tablet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tablet.
I don't even know if you have to go as far high end as Surface Pro, just because it's just
I
an
think it's
agenda.
Pro, one
The
of
same
them.
ones.
Cheapest? Okay, I have no, I don't even know.
I'm kind of
I know Juana knows more about it than I do.
It's the same ones he throws to the ground when he's losing.
Oh, okay.
Well, we need to look at something, so I think that if you look at getting 5 and they don't want.
Sure.
We don't want it, then give to.
I like paper sheets. But,
And I'm thinking where to save that.
all right, we'll do it.
Okay,
One from a distance.
I was looking at also on the conference room updates. That's another, what, 4,000 left on that? Where are we with that? Do we know? Conference room for public works.
I think that's completed.
4,000. 4,600.
Oh, it's
34?
number 34. The line number
Yeah,
Line number 34.
18,000.
So what's left is 4,634.
yeah, does anybody know where we're at with that? What's the remaining?
Yeah, or is that just overage or
I don't know.
under budget?
I guess we could check on, I really don't know. One thing we do need to do is move the, mail room and the postage room. There's a room over there that we can move it to. I think it won't cost much because there's Wi-Fi over there. We have to move it out of the safe area, according to the auditors, even though it's been there for years.
So that it's over here,
It's not moved yet, but we're in the process, so we might want to
the
consider.
mail room.
The
No,
mail
No,
room.
the mail
It's in
room,
the finance.
it's in the finance department, but it has to be moved out of there because of it being sort of public.
Yeah, it's like a common area. You can't
Yeah.
have
where are
it
you gonna
there.
put it? Over here?
There's a room over here that we could put it in there. Or, yeah, so I'm just letting you know,
Use those funds for that.
maybe we could,
Okay, well, that's a minor detail, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to know that.
ITech's coming tomorrow to look at, to see,
And then I have an item, is it 34, or is that one?
Yeah, that's item 34.
34, yeah.
Conference room, no, I'm looking at our room here. These
Oh, here.
speaker systems. I don't know where it's at, but, yeah.
I know we use some funds for
Are
at least what we
you-
have here in that machine.
You're not
back there.
talking about or no.
Council chambers.
I was gonna say live streaming.
Yeah, City Hall,
It would be under
I
building
only
maintenance.
have the painting of City Hall and.
but the problem with it, half the time, we're thumping on these speakers to get things going, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a couple individuals that set this up and it seems to be not as good of a system as,
Right.
yeah. This is just,
I think it
Yeah.
would make us look a little silly if we can't
yeah,
figure this out.
And then 13, sea storage, what is that?
C-Train?
The sea train, we're gonna purchase a sea train and
So we actually purchased that within the auditorium upgrades already. So we don't need to purchase a C train, but that's gonna be used to purchase tables and chairs for the auditorium for rentals, because we have very outdated chairs and not enough tables.
No, that needs to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Those old metal.
Is it gonna take, your estimate?
It's most likely gonna take the whole amount.
yeah, if you want to sell,
have nice-
sell our auditorium for
Yeah.
events, you might want to
can we build art pieces?
have
Can what?
art
With art
pieces.
pieces?
These are cool.
You can take one if you want.
I don't
Take
bring it
spot.
eventually, so I might want one.
Good. Put it in there.
I won't.
Put it in there. I mean, nothing's,
Pickle jar center.
yeah,
Was that right there on with the, are you saying from the sea storage
Mhm.
and all, is there a way you can budget to put a ramp in there with it?
For the C train?
Yeah, so that way the tables and chairs, 'cause I'm thinking.
Yeah.
When they did it this last time, the school borrowed it, use the gym. We couldn't wheel none of the chairs out of it because there's no ramp and then coming into
it should be
the
we're
auditorium.
talking about the little cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to lift it up.
Yeah, you have to lift, and then if you have all the stuff under, you can't. It's too heavy to pick up, so.
Oh, speak for yourself. I'm strong.
I-
I kind of like them.
I think
Yeah, and it just, I cleaned everything up in there. so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Nice.
one of the things with that is, I was thinking, well, we could cement it, but when you cement it, then the water's gonna go into the auditorium.
Yeah.
What's the condition? Even if it's a wooden.
Even just something that we could,
Well,
put
it's
just-
just wedges that you can put right there.
Yeah, that's an easy
They're,
thing.
they're an easy fix.
even like before the sea train, to pull the stuff in and out.
But I'm saying you can.
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
so that would just
Yeah.
roll it,
Yeah.
yeah, then you could just roll it.
Yeah, Hannah wants to knock the gate out.
Okay.
The gate, Leeward Park,
The $10,000.
Oh, that was for O'Connell, actually.
right? yeah.
Leroy, we have, let me turn it
Yeah,
on.
Leroy, you have.
Leroy, we have it already. Jack O'Connell, I just don't see that actually helping anything. I could be wrong, but I just feel like a lot of what the issues are happen during business hours, so that gate wouldn't really mitigate anything. And then as far as afterwards, the only issue with that is not having somebody that can lock the gate at the right time, because if we lock it when we are off, that's 5 o'clock. and
Right.
Right now,
Yeah.
That should be someone else.
Volunteer to speak.
Yeah, chief, you got chief and a secretary.
it would have just been at the very entrance of
Yeah,
the
entrance, Yeah.
asphalt.
Of the parking lot.
Huh?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know, I mean, I know it doesn't
No.
help mitigate the daytime use
What is that?
issue. But I almost feel like having more of a presence there might be worth it, at least looking at.
Oh, that's for.
Just to show some sort of visual, like, hey, it's close, you cannot come in here and hang out.
I think it's animal.
I understand that it may not.
It's just
be
our cost. Remember it went
And we
way
choose
up.
not to do it, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% for it, but I'm also, I almost kind of like it.
Most of the parks have gates.
Yeah, to where it's just like a visual of like, it's close.
Yeah,
If we are planning on doing this, I'll have to see how much it would cost to install the gate, because one thing that Chief and I were just talking about right now is putting in what are they called, bollards? Because the biggest issue there is that people just drive up on
They
the
drive,
grass.
yeah,
They
exactly.
drive around.
So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I said,
Cameras.
I know it's not perfect.
Yeah, we still can though.
But you mentioned Ballard, where would you put them?
By Shamu, use Shamu as one of the ballards.
Move it over just a little bit.
I don't even know what that is.
Shamu?
The
Yep.
well,
The way.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Put the whale there, that'll stop it.
Handle it a little bit.
I don't,
I do think it's a bigger discussion, but it is.
Yeah,
it is.
that is
Have
gonna
an issue
be
over there.
a bigger conversation for Chief and I to have as far as like where to put ballards and how to operate that whole.
I don't think Ballard would work.
I don't either, yeah.
Unless there's fence along that whole side.
We'll have to
That's
discuss
what it says.
something though, because the fence isn't really gonna, they're still gonna drive up onto the grass. We'll talk about it, we'll figure it out.
Well, it sounds like
Yes.
So
the expenses of the water and then the structure not
I
gonna
mean, I
match.
think we need to first start with signage at
Yeah,
least.
I agree. We gotta start putting some visuals up.
If we gotta
So
put a
things are
municipal code.
Which one,
You know,
That's.
And
put
it's-
some cheap behind it. That might help. Chief.
And start changing that narrative on the community that who's using it. Hey, this is. you guys-
19,000 people.
It's
Well,
working.
it's just, I think they see it because it's halfway dirt. If
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
grass there,
Let's ask
my
about
mind, I'm not killing anything.
Right.
question.
So.
Go ahead, Gene.
On,
Speak.
on 9:30,
Mhm.
did we approve 10,000 or 100,000? It says council.
Okay, Denise, they're gonna answer.
100,000.
I just don't understand.
Right, but at mid-year, it was 10,000, so I don't know what happened that transpired there. But this column Y is
Still fine.
everything that was in the mid-year approved budget, so that's what I use.
Okay, I was just wondering, because R was saying 100,000.
Yeah, I see that. It could have been moved around, at that discussion.
No.
That's what it's like. That's unexpected.
That barbecue pit cost 175,000.
Well, the gate would cost them 100.
Wait, inflation?
Imagine it was.
I have a second question for line
I think
36. Is there any remaining?
No,
That's a tree trimming, right?
The vegetation.
Yeah.
right, so column AI, is all that. So everything in AG is being used for this year.
Okay, where are we now? Any other, oh, the generator, you got the generator. But not the hookup, maybe with the state money coming in. Eventually, with the generator for the
Council,
building.
right?
So the generator is down at the bottom at 144. As far as electrical issues for,
We're budgeting that in already.
yeah,
Um,
and then the 50,000 from,
yeah, so, yeah, we're not gonna touch general funds at all.
right.
Is there a way maybe to reach out to, Craig Hart to see what kind of funds we can use that money, that $1 million? To see if there's any way we can maybe. offset?
Yeah, I know, just hearing your email today, I'm just excited, so I'm gonna have to reach out to him and see where he's at, or he's gonna,
I didn't.
Let us
put
know.
that, who requested it, other than then.
yeah, that's interesting, honestly, it's news to me today, as
You
you
said
said.
it's gonna use his,
Yeah.
salary to pay for the electrical.
Well, this is-
I'm just wondering if any of that can help for this budget.
Yeah, so line 32 and line 44 are moved into the general
Good
fund.
job.
So What do you mean you moving it? You moving it from here to the general fund?
Well, ARPA is,
Right.
so this is just the list I've taken, like, there's a line item on the general fund revenue that says transferred from ARPA, and those are the two that are, those are included in that.
Okay, where are we? It's like,
That is actually the conclusion.
so you're going to go through it and kind of take your comb and go through this?
Yeah, I will take your comments, the increases that for the 10%, the library fund is in there. If you guys are okay with the way that it was explained, where it's 5,000 from the general fund, 11,000, or 1,100, is the expense that is in, the library fund. And then 4,000 that is coming from the Friends of Guadalupe, and then I will need to increase, what's coming from the general fund by 2,000.
And then you're gonna bring it back for another review, right?
Okay,
Yes, that will be the next.
final approval.
Because we really have an unknown variable, which is that increase of that additional 10%, what those numbers are gonna look like.
Right, whatever we're getting back from the board park, that would help offset, 300,000 that I'm gonna have to take out and put back to, lighting, landscaping.
But you're gonna double check on that to see if that's actually allocated correctly. 'Cause if it's allocated correctly, then we're fine.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or is our heads buzzing?
I know your heads are buzzing, but there is about 20, almost 27 million in CIP projects that we're divvying up amongst ourselves until we get some interim help, but and I won't list them because it actually probably drive me crazy unless you want to, but
No, I don't want to.
there's and it comes from different funding sources, so it's kind of interesting. You got a copy of it anyway, if anybody needs a copy of it. Yeah. So anyway, they're in different stages and there's a lot of different little trigger points we're working on right now. That we're just getting our feet underneath it because
There's a lot going
There's a
on.
lot.
yeah.
There's a lot to keep on. One thing I had on my notes, I forgot to ask, the school officer. We put it in and we put it back, but it's back in again as a potential revenue. Are we anywhere in terms of recruitment for that position? Is that prospect looking, because we put it back in saying that we're gonna have it, but I'm a little nervous that that may not actually come to fruition. Given that it didn't happen last year.
We're working it in a different manner. We still need to recruit an officer, period.
Right,
But I've spoken with the school superintendent last year because we didn't have the position. And so I said that we weren't gonna charge, but I took a lot of those duties myself on. So I told him that is, we're gonna start charging again. Because if I'm coming out dealing with some of the issues, and you're familiar with at least one we had over there that I had to handle, then we're going to put that charge back. And so we're still going to be providing police services. It might not be as what it used to look like, but that way we're going to put those funds back into the budget.
okay, great. So change in approach, it sounds like, in terms of billing.
Yes, ma'am.
On that, I have a second question. I know the school year is around the corner. Did Dr. Hamdal mention anything about council seeing a school plan for that parking issue or for the drop off?
I remember we had that meeting and I thought we kind of left that, and correct, please step in, was somehow they're talking about school board and council somewhat meeting together.
So we're set to have scheduled to have it meet in the fall, right, to have the joint traditional meeting. But I think where we left it at that meeting was, street closure was still gonna happen, but I think you said now street closures are not gonna be happening in the fall, was that the last email we saw?
Yes,
So
we're
that was
going,
a change.
yeah, right now, we're gonna pull back because we don't have the resources. And we're not gonna allocate what was happening last year. It was just too many issues. So we're trying to press, the school needs to take the lead. And I think that was some of the direction that we really got from council. is, they need to step up, kind of take the lead, so we're really trying to push them, and I appreciate the meetings that you guys went to, so you got to see.
So I guess you,
Yeah,
you won't be allowing them to close the street.
yeah,
Okay, and that's made clear to them.
oh, yes.
I think I remember seeing that. That's what, yeah. Good.
Related to that, where are we with the parking over here?
We still have to, in terms of actually putting it all together, we're still working on. Getting the painting done and the signs and stuff, but right now with school being, out, we still have a little bit of time,
Yeah, how much?
not much.
I know it's gonna be here before we.
Yeah.
And one of the things I need to work on in ordinance, one of the things we goofed on was we asked the permit parking, but we didn't provide a mechanism to allow towing. So we need to cite the language and the signs. We can't make the signs until we get the section, so we're gonna bring that forward as soon as we can. Sorry, I just didn't have time. It wasn't the highest priority on my plate.
Well, if it doesn't happen before school year, we're gonna point to you.
That's fine. And I'll point at the chief,
There you go.
but he'll point back to me.
Are we on the future agenda?
No, I'm sorry. I wanted to suggest that since we're not adopting a budget, traditionally, we've adopted a continuing resolution to continue the previous years.
Right.
So I used an old one, an old form that we had. I just did it while I was sitting here. And I'm happy to read it into the record.
Please.
And adopt it. Okay. Are we on number 55? Is that the one? We just say resolution next in order. Resolution of the city council, the city of Guadalupe continuing expenditures and revenues in accordance with the 2022-23 this city budget in lieu of timely 2023-24 budget adoption. Whereas the city council of the city of Guadalupe previously adopted a budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023, which authorizes expenditures through and including June 30th, 2023, and whereas city council wishes to continue the existing budget beyond the end of the 22-23 fiscal year until such time as the 23-24 budget is approved. Now therefore be it resolved. Section 1, City of Guadalupe hereby extends the 22-23 budget until the earlier July 31st, 2023, or the adoption of the fiscal year 23-24 budget, and authorizes spending in accordance with the levels prescribed in the 2023 budget. Section 2, this resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption.
So we can
Make a motion.
we can move on that. Who moves that?
I'll motion on everything that Phil said.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Verbatim, the whole thing.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Now we're on the next future items.
I thought we were kind of talking about, okay, well, maybe we're rolling into there. So with the parking up or the school, maybe an update if any changes happen before the new school year. And then I was gonna ask, where are we with fee schedule update? For Parks and Rec, are we thinking maybe next month we'll see it, or do we want to put, just didn't see it in the future agenda items, and I don't want to lose track of that. Because it intersects with so many other pieces that. we're working on.
Yeah,
Kind of,
It's scheduled for another meeting.
Excellent. Well, I mean, that's where 12 is where my notes, future agenda, we can just put it off for another meeting, I'm just wondering if we're close.
I would say for July, it wouldn't be like a city council meeting. If it is, it would be the last meeting in July.
I know your Parks and Rec stuff is not gonna happen because it fell with 4th of July.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
4th of July.
Right.
But I would like to meet with the same committee that we had last time before I bring it to the city council. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say mid-July for that meeting, and then hopefully last meeting of July, if not first meeting of August.
Okay. And then where are we at with,
Dr. Handel.
yeah, meeting with the.
The last time I heard from him, he was looking for like a historical old joint use agreement, and he wasn't able to find it. So at this point, he's just waiting on me to put together like a draft for that.
I have.
Oh, you have a draft?
Yeah.
That's
I had the
ours?
old one. Whatever one was in play
Okay,
before.
There we go.
Bill, you could solve all my problems.
He didn't ask me.
Okay.
Go for the rescue again.
Don't play that
Jeez, Phil.
forward, because
Yeah.
I just,
We need to look
yeah,
at
that
that, yeah.
needs to be done before the fall
Mhm,
school year
for
starts,
sure.
before they're even planning activities and making commitment,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Any other agenda items? You want-
I think, it was mentioned like council, what was it, council? An order, oh, goodness, it was, on how to have council communication for future
Oh,
agenda
like a-
item.
Oh, like,
Yeah,
I mean, okay, like that, because of the, okay. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Do one, whatever. Football catch.
221 press? No?
No,
Good.
one item for July 11th would be, I'll just call it right now, an interim, public works director / city engineer, 20 hours a week, won't affect the budget. Just somebody to come in to, we need a PE and we need somebody that's, has those capabilities and to kind of help out with all these CIPs and putting bid documents together, et cetera. So I want to bring that forward to the council.
Is that it? Is there,
After 3 hours, is that it?
announcements, council activity reports?
There was no CCW. Meetings, so there won't be one until July.
How'd it go? Or did you,
No, they didn't have one,
or didn't have it?
Yeah.
Good, okay.
so next month.
I'm not a member, but can I make an announcement?
No.
No?
Oh, yeah.
So the color run registration, technically is not over. The deadline, you can register even the day of, the morning of, before 10:30. It's just that at this point, you can't order a shirt anymore. So you can still register, you can still get the other stuff that's included with the registration packet, just not the shirt, because we have to pre-order those. We will have shirts from last year on sale if anybody does want to buy a shirt. Yeah, that's it.
What was the
So
date on that again?
the run is Saturday, July 29th. Check-in is at 10 a.m. and then the run starts at 11.
Can you walk?
And this-
Yeah, you can walk. So there's no requirement to run or to do any amount of laps or anything like that. You could walk it, you could skip it backwards. I whatever you want to do.
Walking on your hands. This is run gonna be-
It'll be at Jack O'Connell Park.
And do we have numbers of what last year's participants were?
We had 71, I think. Right now we're at 40 something, which is not bad. And then a lot of them didn't even register until the day of. I think there was like around 20 people that registered day of. $20.
Anything else? Announcements, you did SBK, thank you for doing that. And APCD was a lot.
it was very interesting to be at the FB tag meeting. I learned a lot. I attended the FB tag meeting and, it was great to be there and learn a lot. They obviously knew a lot about Guadalupe, and I think there might have been some, budget approval that day. So that was great.
Okay, what's, next? Adjourn to closed session, is there a motion?
Not motion to adjourn the closed session.
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.